throughout the postseason with a great performance.
Gwynn and Chris are ready to go.
Myers, man, he swings, hits it in the air to center field and deep. Rodriguez is back. He will watch. It's going to go! Home run history for Manny Machado. His 164th in a Padre uniform. Now the most prolific home run hitter in the history of the San Diego Padres.
Yes, it was a historic night in Seattle last night. Manny Machado into the Padre record books, and more importantly, I would say at this stage of the season, a victory for the Padres. They beat Seattle 7-3 thanks to Manny and that home run, 4 RBIs. An outstanding performance from Yu Darvish and Fernando Tatis coming through with a big 3-run homer as well. Padres hang on to their lead in the wild card race. We have a lot to get to today. Tony Gwynn Jr. is, of course, in Seattle for Game 2 of that series. Tony and Skraby, of course, hello and welcome. But I think, guys, before we get into the sports, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. It's a great show. It's a great day. I have to take a moment. I think all of us do, and I hope you did take a moment today. This is September 11th, and it was 23 years ago today that we had this awful attack on our country, and I think in memory of those who perished in that, and those heroes who kept more from perishing, and for the heroes who helped us fight through it and bring our country back, I think we need to at least pay and spend a moment remembering all of this. I don't think a September 11th should go by. It has been 23 years, believe it or not, since that horrible day. And, we're going to have a lot of fun today talking about sports and all of the fun stuff that's going on. But I will say this about the aftermath of September 11th. I will say this. Our country came together like never before. And, without getting too political or any political, I hope we kind of remember what that felt like 23 years ago when we all were pulling on the same rope. It was something to behold. So
yeah,
that's all I want to say, and I want to get into sports and all that, but I couldn't do it without at least a mention, guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's one of those instances everybody remembers where they were when it happened and how they felt. And you're right, that was a time where we definitely came together as a country. It's a good reminder of what we can do when we all are pulling a rope in the same direction. And then on top of that, and that's for the folks who are still suffering from that.
Yeah, no kidding, man. People still are alive that lost loved ones in that tragedy. There's no question, Tony. This is a very difficult day for a lot of people in our country. I will be actually on my vacation, which is coming up, guys. It's been a while. I finally have one, but we're going to be ending that vacation in New York, and I know that my wife has already purchased tickets for us to go to that museum. She has never been there before, and I think it's a great reminder for all of us. So definitely want to get that in, but I do want to welcome everybody to a fun day. There is a little breaking news right at the top here, and it has to do with the Padres to a certain extent. The Mets are playing in Toronto right now. This game has gone to the bottom of the 8th inning. Toronto is leading 1-0. That is good news for the Padres, who are hoping the Mets lose. But the bigger item is that Bowden Francis, this rookie right-hander for Toronto, is making a bid at a no-hitter. Yeah. He's got 8 innings in the books. He has walked 1. He's hit 2 batters. He's thrown 108 pitches, but still going. And this is the second time in less than a month that this rookie has taken a no-hitter to the 9th inning. He did it back in August against the Angels, and they got a hit off him in the 9th. So we'll keep an eye on him trying to finish that off. Yeah, obviously, that would be good for the Padres if the Mets lose. But
the no-hitter tab keeps flowing on my it's like every day the no-hitter tab comes up on somebody's score thing. So
yeah, this guy's getting
just
close.
Another possible one. Yeah,
he's getting close. I got to say this though, the MLB Network, who's ever working at MLB Network, Brian Kinney included, should all be fired. They're showing a game between Cleveland and the White Sox right now.
I have to think
a game that really doesn't mean a whole lot, and they're not switching away to see this guy pitch. At least they didn't for the 8th inning.
I think they. I mean,
I don't know that they can from
Yeah.
that. I think they can only switch when they're in like studio.
You think?
I think that's a scheduled
Wow.
game. Like
That's bad.
Like they promote, hey, you can watch this on MLB Network.
Well, I'm sorry. Make a call. Make a legit call and get over to the
Chris
no-hitter.
wants to bend every single
that's-
rule for
Don't
that's
this
you?
my-
one
but
Don't
thing.
you want to
that's-
see the no-hitter, or do you want to
I'll
see this
see it
crappy
later.
game?
that's kind of my point though. But the no hitter tab, this isn't like they're happening so frequently. They're not as special anymore. I
I
mean,
guess maybe that's it. Yeah. I don't
if
know.
it was a perfect game, we might be having a different story here. But no hitters are popping every year now.
Dime a
couple
dozen,
of
you
them.
say. Dime a dozen. All right. Well, we'll see if Bowden Francis can finish it off. We will keep an eye on this. Obviously, the Padres are 2.5 games up on the Mets starting play today. Mets are 3 outs away from losing. The Braves play later today in Washington. And the Diamondbacks, who are hot on the heels of the Padres, half game back, are leading Texas 8-3 today in the 5th inning. All right, so you're up to date on all that. Now let's get back to all the fun we had last night in Seattle. And, Tony, let's start with Manny. That's where you got to begin. The guy had 4 RBIs. I thought maybe hits another one in the 9th inning. Give him a 7 RBI game. I mean, why not? He's done his Manny Machado thing again this year, proving all of the doubters wrong. And that line of doubters back in May was a really long line. And I was in it, and so were a lot of other people. But Manny told us to stop worrying about it, and here he is again. He's now on top of the Padre home run list.
Dang, Chris, you were in that group too?
I was. So
Yeah.
you tried to keep pulling me out of the line.
I didn't know you were in that group.
Even
man.
I
can't-
wasn't in that
Just-
group.
See, now that
I was not.
You were at the front of the line.
I was not at the front of the line.
You
I said
were
it the
too.
entire time that he was going to get what he
No
gets.
way. You were
See-
at the front of the line.
See, you know what's funny is I can't even use my line now because Chris is in the group. I can't. The line I wanted to use
Use it.
was
Use it.
keep that same energy.
Yeah,
Keep that
yeah.
same energy, doubters, because
Yeah.
you know I tried to. I don't know what else he has to do to tell y'all that he is him in terms of when it gets down to the nitty gritty and
Yeah.
he's healthy. This is the kind of thing that we've gotten. This isn't the first time either, by the way. He did it the stretch run of the shortened season in 20. He did it the stretch run in 22. And, we're seeing pretty much the same thing we saw in those years. And he's just doing it on all facets. I think that yesterday was just like the icing on the cake. It being he's already taken over the all-time home run leader for this organization, but there's still more to come. And I've seen him enough to know that when we get to this time of the year and the Padres are squarely in the thick of it, you're gonna get his best, and that's where the Padres are. And really going back to, I think, June 18th is the day. June 19th is the day Jesse and I have kind of circled as the walk down that he has put on in terms of his numbers just climbing from that point.
Yeah,
I think it's been pretty remarkable.
Yeah, you can get to now. 2 years ago, in 2022, the year the Padres went to the NLCS, Manny finished with 32 home runs, 102 RBIs. He did hit 298, which is a number I don't know that he'll quite reach this year. But he could reach the 32 home runs. He could easily reach the 102 RBIs. He only needs 8 more. And he's hitting 276 now. I bring all that up. He finished second in the MVP balloting in 2022. Skraby brought this up yesterday in the Big Five. Should Manny start get a little love here around the league? Ohtani's going 50-50. Lindor is doing his thing. But Manny, you talked about it right when it started, Tony, and you recognized it before the rest of us. When he goes, the Padres go. And we can put all this other stuff aside. But when he's doing his thing, this team is at its best. And he's been so valuable again this year. And when it's all counted up at the end, maybe he is once again the MVP of this squad.
I mean, 24-0 or 25-0 when he has 2 RBIs or more this season. They haven't lost a game when he's doubled up on the RBIs.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is just playing some great baseball. And that, don't get me wrong. I mean, the Padres are a good team because there's a whole lot of dudes doing good things for their team, not just Manny. But in terms of the straw that stirs the drink, it's Manny. And I think, it's just the pieces just fit together so well, right? I was having this conversation yesterday, and when you look at, it's like, we'll say Arise. Let's just start with him. It's like Arise. Well, how good is he, right? I mean, well, he's perfect for this team, right? I mean, he sets the table. He's on base, right? And now if he was the central piece to a team, you might have some trouble winning a whole bunch of games. But on this team, he's the perfect piece. Why is he the perfect piece? Because you have guys that do the damage, like Manny and Jackson and Toddy. Like, you got those guys that can handle that piece of the pie. You got him at the top, and you can add Jerickson as well, that kind of set the table most of the time, depending on where they are in the lineup. Jerickson's hitting third now, so it's really Toddy and Arise setting the table, and then those guys behind them kind of cleaning up. And that's how it's worked for this team. And then when they're really good, somebody at the bottom like Solano is getting it started at the bottom of the lineup, and now you got multiple things happening up there.
Yeah.
And so it's just a well-oiled machine. I think the bonus last night was watching you, Darvish, figure it out. I think it was after the second homer, he stopped throwing the slider completely because both Raleigh and Rayleigh, the catcher Kyle Riley, both hit homers on the slider. After the second one, he stopped throwing it, and it was exclusively sweepers, sinkers, splits, and he started to find that efficiency, and they gave up nothing. I thought the 5 innings of work they got from him last night was, perfecto.
That was, as Manny's home run is going to be the thing, that is in the headlines. It should have been. The most important thing that happened last night was Darvish pitched 5 really good innings. That going forward is going to be so beneficial to this team. Before we continue, I got to just duck this in. I just talked about Lindor and his MVP. He just hit a home run to lead off the 9th inning. So he broke up the no-hitter, and he's tied the game 1-1. So Lindor's keeping his candidacy alive for sure.
I said that yesterday. I'm telling you, he's in New York. He keeps pulling off stuff like this, and listen, we're just talking about it here at 2:13.
Yeah.
By the time we get to the prime time, when they get to the big highlight days, this is going to be one of the biggest stories. Especially if they come back to win. Now, if they lose, it'll be different. But they come back to win. He just tied it. That's on a whole other conversation. Yeah. But I thought, and don't forget about Toddy's 3-run blast. Really ignited everything because they got off to the Darv got off to the slow start as he was kind of feeling. It wasn't really slow start. He gave up 2 solo shots. Padres working uphill. That 3-run blast. I mean, first of all, it was a missile. Secondly, that changed the momentum right there, and it was just a one swing. Boom.
Yeah, and, it comes there in the 3rd inning, you're right, and gets the game turned around. Arise had 3 more hits. I'm going to get disappointed now if he only gets 2 tonight or anything less than 3. I think he's had 3 every game for about a month, it seems like. I know one thing.
Sorry.
Insanity, did you just say?
Oh, you're playing the clip of the home run.
Lindor. I had to see it.
The Lindor home run in the background there. But you're right. That was big for Fernando, for Arise, 3 more hits. And Donovan Solano makes, Mike Schilt look good for, switching Xander to shortstop, getting his bat in because he goes 2 for 3 with a walk. So he was on base all night long. And Xander played a good shortstop, too, which I don't think will surprise anybody.
Yes, he did.
So,
he did.
Everything was good. Suarez came in, got 4 outs. I mean, again, Schilt, his last outing, he gave up the grand slam. Then he had to live with that for 4 days or 5 days. He didn't get to pitch. Mike Schilt immediately puts him right in the fire. Says, here we go, 8th inning. I'm going to make it a 4-out save for you. And Suarez calmly took care of business. So, good night all the way around, I would say.
That was money.
Yeah.
That was money. Oh, real quick. Let me clear this up before we go to break here.
Before we go to break, I want everyone to pay attention. This is more important than anything other than the 9/11 stuff.
Let me clear this up. Because, yesterday as I was doing the show, my wife and two of the children are out here.
On this trip with you, yes.
On this trip. And my wife was in the room kind of doing something with the kids, and she came back, and she crossed the computer. And in my mind, I immediately thought, somebody's going to think this just got a random woman just walking behind me.
Uh-oh.
But I didn't say anything because I was like, nah, I'm overthinking it. And then Skraby tells me to say that's exactly what was going on in the chat.
People were commenting.
Let me go ahead and just tell you that was my wife walking behind. Now she left this morning, so you just got to take my word. So
we're going to take your word and then some. So that's it.
But nonetheless, yes, no, that
you people
my
out
daughter,
there always thinking
my
the
daughter,
worst.
My daughter had to come out for a school visit, so we decided to make it a trip. So
make a little trip. His wife walked past the camera, and people
were like, "Oh no." With the eyeball emojis, like someone just walked through Tony's camera, and I was like, guys, it's his wife. I hope so.
Yeah, it was. Don't worry.
All right, everybody out there.
I don't think Tony,
everybody out there, just calm down. I think we should move past this one while we can. Tony explained it. That's it.
Yes.
That's all we need. Mets, by the way, have put the next two runners on base. So after the home run, they are now threatening to take the lead. We'll keep an eye on that in Toronto. 1-1 game now. As far as the show is concerned, Ryan Divish, Seattle Times, will be with us and talk a little more about this game 2, final game of the series between the Padres and the Mariners. Ryan's really good talking baseball. Looking forward to that. We got a daily Gambit today. We got a fantasy sports court coming up a little bit later on. It's been a while since we've done that, but fantasy season is in full swing. And already Skraby's got a whole bunch of questions that we need to try and settle. Some Chris versus the Fans, Big Five. It's all here leading up to Padre baseball on 97.3 The Fan.
In a car crash, there's one number to remember. Call the...
11:23 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Skraby. I hesitated to come on because I was really trying to figure out where I wanted to go with the show.
That's the thing that's great about this, Tony. The world is your oyster.
It is.
You can take us anywhere. You want to talk about steeple racing in Europe, we can do that.
I don't think so.
It's not my strongest topic, so I think I'm a sidestep the steeple racing, and talk a little bit about the Xander Bogaerts move to shortstop yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know that we telegraphed it, but we definitely, at least the day before, talked about. I believe it was the day before, right? It was the day before yesterday. We talked a little bit about. Oh wait, no, it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was
Sorry.
yesterday.
Yeah, before the lineup came out, we discussed all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bogey moving the shortstop. I would at least, and this is no inside information, just me guessing, right? That because they didn't initially move him there, that Ha-Sung may be out a little bit longer, than expected, and so because I would think moving Bogey from short to second, letting him acclimate himself there and improve at that spot, and then moving him back to short, I would think wouldn't be like the most conducive thing for both sides. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. That was the first thing that came to mind when the lineup popped out, and so we didn't ultimately end up hearing anything new from Schulte in his scrum. I think he talked a little bit about it not being a step forward, which is something that they kind of need at this point in the season. So, take that for what it's worth. So, but we do know Xander moved back to shortstop. And by the way, looked pretty dang good over there doing it too. It didn't look like he was knocking off any rust. He moved well, threw well, made the plays that he was supposed to make. It was a good day. I mean, offensively, he didn't. I'm sure he would have liked to have a little bit different day, but in terms of defense, he was good.
Yeah, I think a few things, Tony. Absolutely. If they like when Kim got hurt, and it's coming up on nearly a month. It was a Sunday in Colorado, but if he got hurt, and they knew right away that he was going to be out for a while, like the rest of the season, maybe. I think they would have started Bogaerts at shortstop that week. I don't think they would have waited around. I think they would have gone with it. They would have, put Solano and Peralta in the DH thing. Of course, remember now, Fernando wasn't quite back yet, so that was a bit of an issue too. But I think they would have immediately put Bogaerts at short. The reason they didn't is because they didn't want to stick him over there and then have to move him back 10 days later. And that's how long everybody thought Kim would be out. So we're not going to move Bogaerts. We're not going to move Crone. We're not going to move Arise. We're not going to move everybody around for 10 days and then move them back. But I think what yesterday told me, and I think, told you, is that now that they put Bogaerts there, it's because they really aren't thinking Kim's going to be back. Now, he could still be back. You got to leave the door open. But I think it's a pretty good sign that, this may be the way they go the rest of the way. And if you get into the postseason, you want Bogey to have played shortstop for at least 3 weeks. So he's, back comfortable there. And if Kim comes back, terrific. But I think this is a sign that we may not see Ha-Sung for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long a while is.
And now that I said that, they'll probably put Kim in the lineup tonight and move Bogaerts right back to second, and we'll all look like we don't know what we're doing. But
I just think that I don't know how long it is, but clearly I don't think it's going to be in the next week or so.
No.
So there's 3 weeks left in the season. Make for that what you will.
The other thing that's interesting is when Arise was traded for, and this is all the way back in, when did that actually happen? May?
Yeah.
Beginning of May.
Yes.
There was a lot of talk at that time that the Padres were creating a little of a log jam in the infield. Where was everybody going to play? Is Arise going to be okay as the DH? We've already got first, second, short, and third covered. We got Solano. We got these other guys. That has all worked itself out pretty well, I would say, over the course of the season. I think Schilt, I give him the what for once in a while, but I think he's done a really, really good job of mixing Arise in and out of the lineup, giving guys days off their feet, getting everybody in, keeping everybody solid and engaged with his lineups on a daily basis. And now that Kim goes down, of course you're going to miss this guy, but not nearly as much as you would have missed him if you didn't get Arise in the first place. And
Yeah,
it really has worked out very well.
What's interesting about that is I don't think we've seen very much of Arise in the field since Kim got hurt. I think prior to that, we were seeing, Arise play a first base. I think it's been a while since he played second, but I think with Kim went down, and especially now that they're moving Bogey to short, you're going to have less of that because Solano is going to probably have to play first unless he's spelling Manny at third, which in case then you might see Arise play first or something along those lines. Cronenworth play first, however you want to do that. But that's 100% true in terms of the lineup and now Bogey being over there. You're probably going to see less Arise playing in the field because they got to find a spot for Solano, right? Unless if you're, because even if you're DHing, let's say Peralta, somebody's got to play first, and I think Solano's probably going to be that guy.
You think he's better at first than Arise? Like if those are the two guys defensively first base, who would you rather have?
I think they're probably a wash.
Pretty close.
In terms of,
okay.
They're probably pretty close, but you just want that bat in the lineup.
Yeah,
Solano,
my goodness. Beautiful, and you want Arise kind of in the lineup too.
You definitely want that guy in there.
I think he's hitting like nearly 500 in the last month or something.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
This was his third straight 3-hit game last night?
I think
Come
so.
on.
I heard you and Jesse talking about how ridiculous
I
he's
mean,
been
you
as
got
of late.
that. You got Manny closing in on a century mark of RBIs. He needs 6 of those. He's 4 homers away from 30. Like, there's some numbers out there for some of these guys to get.
Yeah.
Profar climbing back up the ladder a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, it was good to see him get a couple knocks and a walk.
Yeah.
He looked good. I mean, I've said this so many times, so everyone didn't want to hear it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I still want to hear an analytics person tell me why Arise isn't good. Because they keep it up. And I'm tired of it.
I think Arise is a player. Tony said it earlier.
There's plenty of guys who are going to tell you, plenty of analytic guys are going to tell you why he's not good.
Yeah.
For sure. they come up with all kinds of reasons why he's not.
Yeah, here's his last 10 games. 4 hits, 2 hits, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 3.
And what's the Padres record? How many runs did he score?
Huh? I'm just trying to make my point. You're trying to take my point away from me.
No, what I'm trying to say is Tony said it earlier. He fits on this team. I was thinking about this too last night because there are people in my DMs all the time like, he's been given away by a couple teams already. No one wants him. I think he fits perfect with the Padres and what they're doing.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. I think the problem is when you try to sully what his skill set is. You know what I'm saying? By, saying things like he's been traded 3 times. Yeah, well, He playing every one of those teams that trade for him play him, man, like he's sitting on the bench somewhere.
Yeah, he was winning batting titles for all of those teams.
He's winning batting titles for all of them. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. That's fine. We have plenty of room to love him on this show.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to break. What we got on the other side?
We got Ryan Divish of Seattle Times.
When we return, more Gwynn
and Chris.
Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Mr. Skraby. Tony's in Seattle. Padres and Mariners coming up tonight. Ryan Divish, Seattle Times, to join us shortly. Mariners fired their manager not that long ago. Talk a little bit about that. Some of the other things that have gone on in the Great Northwest. Meanwhile, in the Great North, otherwise known as Canada, the New York Mets.
Isn't that the Great White North?
Oh, yeah, the Great White North. Thank you. The Great North, yeah. The New York Mets were getting no hit until the 9th inning today. And that would have been nice if they had lost in Toronto. But Francisco Lindor broke up the no-hitter with a leadoff homer in the 9th. The Mets went on to score 5 more runs. And they now lead 6-1. Toronto batting in the bottom of the 9th. So no help, apparently, at hand for the Padres.
Cold.
Yeah, not going to help. Diamondbacks are winning 11-4.
That's ice cold of Mr. Lindor right there.
Yeah, Francisco. Thanks, pal.
Pal.
Mets are right
listen,
there.
You know,
They're keeping
I
the
said
heat
this
on.
when we went off. I said this when we went off the air yesterday. You know, these things, they don't just get handed to you. You got to pretty much go out and take it.
Be nice if everybody around you just lost and you could just walk into the playoffs.
It usually doesn't work that way. You usually have to earn it.
And it's normally beneficial for you to keep playing hard right up till the playoffs because you go in, with your juices flowing. So
absolutely.
Let's hope that happens. Padres are 42-29 on the road this year, continuing to have one of the best records in all of baseball. They're 13 games over 500 on the road, 5 games over at home. The other thing that the win yesterday did, although it's not registering a whole lot, but they did can wrap up a winning season for the Padres. They got 82 wins, which equals the number of games they won last year. It's also the 3rd year in a row that the Padres have won or had a winning record. And they've only done that once before in franchise history. They had 4 in a row from 2004 to 7, I believe it was. So, Tony and I have talked about this. They didn't make the playoffs last year. I get it. They didn't make the playoffs in 21. But in both of those years, they were playing games that mattered into September. 2021 looked like they were going to make it until September. Same last year. They just, had some games that mattered. They just didn't quite get there.
Yeah.
To me, this is one of the better stretches of baseball the Padres have honestly ever had. 5 or 6 years of sustained contention. And I think there's something to be said for that.
I think they had a similar run from 2004 to 2007. But, Skraby, it was funny. I was watching you the whole time as we were talking. I'm pretty sure you don't know anything we talked about because you were over there panicking about,
No, you guys were talking about how great Padres baseball is right now.
That's right. He wasn't listening.
Well, I was trying to get him on the phone.
He's trying to get our guy on the phone, and he can't find him, and now he's worried.
It was very entertaining watching him squirm.
Well, because it went straight to voicemail, which is an immediate oh no, I don't know what's happening. But he just texted me. He was trying to get through the ballpark security, so I'm
that'll
call him
take
right
a
now.
moment. Yes, that you can be detained there.
Let him breathe.
Let's not
a little
use
bit
that
on
word,
this.
Chris. Detained.
Sorry, Tyreek. I apologize to you. Padres also Michael King to the mound tonight. If you're wondering, Brian Wu going to pitch for Seattle, and I was looking at this guy, Tony. He's pretty good. 7-2.
Yeah.
He's got a 2.36 ERA, which is really, really good. And here's the thing that I'm most impressed about, and I'm sure you and Jesse will talk about it. 77 strikeouts this year, 9 walks.
Yeah,
9.
I mean that's
the whole season.
That's Kirby. That's Kirby too. These guys don't.
That's
walk in.
impressive.
They got the number one pitching rotation in all of baseball, man. It's just their offense.
Offense hasn't been good. All right, we'll talk about that. Ryan Divish made it through security. Apparently, we appreciate him joining us here from the Seattle Times. Ryan, how are you today? Thanks again for your time, sir.
No problem. Sorry, the T-Mobile security, they can be a little rough sometimes.
I hear you.
It's gotten better, but there was no cavity search or anything like that.
Oh, good.
Good.
You didn't have to disrobe or anything like that. Happy to hear that. Ryan, it's been an interesting season, obviously, for the Mariners. I mean, we caught up with you earlier. I thought Seattle was playoff bound. I think they thought they were playoff bound, but you warned us back then. You said, look, this team cannot hit. And as long as they cannot hit, they're not going to make it anywhere. And so it is, despite this incredible pitching staff with Kirby and Logan Gilbert and the guy going tonight, Brian Wu, and everything else. They're pretty much on the outs right now unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, 17 games. They have 17 games left. They probably have to win 14, I think, to even be realistic. I mean, maybe if they stay within 3 of the Astros and then they go there and take 2 of 3 when they have 3 against the Astros, they can make it interesting. And they actually have a tiebreaker over the Astros, I believe. They don't have the tiebreaker and the wild card over the Twins, the Red Sox, or the Tigers, the 3 teams that they're trying to chase. So that one makes it a lot more difficult. They've just done this to themselves. It's not like it's like the opportunity to win the division and the opportunity to find a way to make the postseason was presented to them early on, and they couldn't play 500 baseball from the time they were 10 games up in the division and 13 games up over 500. I mean, since that day, I think June 19th, when they were 10 games up in the division, the only team with a worse record than them is the Chicago White Sox. So that's a problem. I mean, I wrote last night, it was the 72nd time this year where they scored 3 runs or fewer, and they only won 15 of those games.
Wow.
I mean, that says it right there. I mean, you score 3 runs or fewer 72 times out of 150 games. It's almost half, or 140 games. That's half. That's a problem. And then, you don't win it. You don't have a way to win those games either.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, the diagnosis is pretty simple to see. I mean, they strike out a lot, and they at least try to live by the homer, as we saw yesterday. They got 2 of the 3 runs via the homer, and that's it, because they don't put the ball in play enough. I want to talk a little bit about the managerial situation, right? I mean, Scott Service let go. Dan Wilson comes in, who is just beloved in the city of Seattle. Is that what's soured with Service, and is Wilson a temporary move, or could this have some lasting power?
So with Scott, I think it was his contract was up after the season. And so it wasn't going to get renewed if he didn't make the postseason. I was pretty certain of that. I think doing it with 34 games left, it was essentially Hail Mary. You're throwing up a Hail Mary. You're hoping that, your Golden Tate against the Packers or whatever, Cordell Stewart and Michael Westbrook. You're just hoping that something good happens. And I mean, the way the schedule set up, it was possible that it could happen. It just didn't. And so I think that was kind of part of it. I think, it's probably a move a little bit by Jerry Dipoto to save his job or try and extend his job. And, so Dan Wilson is not an interim. He's a full-time manager moving forward. And that's, that was a bit of a surprise because you kind of thought, if they didn't make the playoffs, they would move on from Dipoto as well. But, by having naming Dan the full-time manager and really then we kind of broke the news that they're bringing Jerry back. I mean, that's kind of how they're going to move forward. So they'll go the 10th year with Dipoto kind of leading the baseball operations staff. They'll be searching for that second playoff spot since then.
What happens to the Mariners now, this time of year, Ryan, when the Seahawks get started and the 12th man and the craziness there for football? I imagine this is a really tough time to be the Mariners organization. I mean, last year they were in the playoffs. This year it was almost promised to everybody they were going to be there. And then, like you said, it looked like they had it locked up and have fallen completely apart. Where do the Mariners kind of rank in the Seattle hierarchy, and how much does a disappointing finish like this hurt this organization?
I still think, honestly, last year, the year before, and even in 2021, they'll draw. They'll because people, you know, the weather's still nice here and people want to come to the park and be outside. You know, and the Seahawks are like and the University of Washington football. It's a different kind of vibe for all of those. You know, there is a little bit easier family atmosphere here. I'm not saying that going to a Seahawks game is like going to the old Oakland Coliseum to watch the Raiders play, but you know, it's just a different vibe. You know, this is much more kid friendly, and really the last few years when they've been competitive down the stretch, the crowds have been, you know, 30,000, and they've had strong numbers all season. But the last road trip, some of the last two road trips with some of the issues surrounding the team, I think we'll see it down a little bit, you know, especially this Rangers series this weekend. School has started up again as well, so that makes a difference. You know, if they were in it, if they're leading the division, Seattle was a baseball town before the Seahawks ever got good. And, you know, in the 2001 season, they sold out every game. And that's the fan base is here and the passion is here. They just haven't kind of lived up to their end of the bargain to really stoke it to higher levels.
Right. Well, so Ryan Divish joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. Ryan, so where does this team go from here, right? I mean, will they spend some money during the off season in free agency? They clearly have a dominant rotation. I mean, when your bullpen is only having to pitch, you know, the sixth occasionally, but mainly the seventh and eighth most of the time, you're gonna have some success. So how do they jumpstart, or what's the plan to jumpstart the offensive side of this ball club?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if they have money to spend. You know, they have some issues with their RSN. You know, you guys know all about that.
Yeah, everybody is.
Yeah, and so this past offseason, when, you know, they were kind of expected to look at some free agents, and there was a pretty big free agent class, you know, maybe make a run at Matt Chapman, or, you know, look at one of the outfielders or do something. They were told that they could not increase their budget significantly because of RSN concerns, and the RSN situation hasn't been solved. And if you look at their roster, they get a little more expensive. I mean, Julio Rodriguez's salary bumps up from $10 million this year to $19 million next year. Randy Arozarena, you know, they'll pick him, you know, arbitration eligibility wise, he'll probably be about $12 to $13 million next year. Logan Gilbert's at $4.1 million, so he'll probably double that. He's been one of their best guys. Cal Raleigh will be in his first year of arbitration eligibility, as will George Kirby. So, like, all of a sudden you look around and it's like you've bumped up $20 million on your payroll without adding anybody. Wow. And so that inflation is going to force them to do that. I think, honestly, if they don't see a serious injection of cash from the ownership group, and I'm not expecting that, I think they're going to have to, you know, probably look at trading one of those starters and explore that opportunity, because I just don't know that there's any other way. And, you know, obviously as well, hitting here at T-Mobile and some of the reputation that it holds, the struggles. I mean, you're not attracting a free agent to come here. You're certainly not getting a one-year guy and a walk here trying to look a pillow contract up and like build up, and you're not going to really attract the top name free agents unless you grossly overspend, and, you know, they're not in a position to do that. So to supplement their offense, I think they're going to have to look at possibly trading Bryce Miller or Brian Wu or one of those guys, or, you know, maybe even Logan Gilbert if they look at it. It's kind of where the Rays, you know, what the Rays have to do every time they look at, like, how expensive some guys are getting. I mean, the Mariners aren't poor, but they just don't really invest a bunch. You know, you're not seeing them kick up the payroll the way that they probably should, or to levels that are commensurate with the interest that they have in the team, the attendance, and really the wealth of the ownership group. I just think that, you know, I always joke with people, but, you know, they have the fans have Nordstrom taste, but the Mariners are giving them TJ Maxx budget. And so it's like,
Don't let my wife
that's where
hear
you're
that.
at.
She loves TJ Maxx.
Oh, so do I. I mean, like, you can get some good deals, but that's the problem when you're shopping for deals. You
Right.
know, you're trying all these reclamation projects and stuff. When they don't work, I mean, it's hard. You know, some of those reclamation projects cost real money. And Mitch Garver, Mitch Haniger, Jorge Polanco, and they invested probably, I think $35 million in those three guys.
Wow.
And they have not been good this year.
That may be true, but this is also true, Ryan. If the Mariners win tonight, they get to keep the Eddie Vedder Cup for an entire offseason because this would give them the series and their rivalry over the Padres. So don't fret, everybody. There's a lot at stake tonight up there in Seattle. Hey, thanks for the time as always, Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, if the Mariners take the Vedder Cup, they're going to take AJ's Jordan basketball shoes and the basketball hoop down in Peoria as well. They'll take claim to that.
That's right. That's
Fair
right.
enough.
These are spring training pair here, the Mariners and Padres. Thanks again, Ryan. We'll see you down there.
Thanks, Ryan.
If we don't see you before, we'll hopefully run into you in Peoria maybe. Thanks again.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Very good. Ryan Divish. He's one of the better guys I like around the league. Joins us from time to time to talk about their ball club. But, yeah, it's been a disappointing finish for the Mariners. It's funny that he mentioned June 19th, Tony, as the day of the kind of demarcation where they went the other way, because that was the day you mentioned that the Padres went on the upswing. So
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, let me look at the schedule real quick. It might have been right after playing them.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
They swept the Padres, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
in that 2 short games at home. Let me see. No, it wasn't. That was Philly, but nonetheless.
Nonetheless,
it
June
would've been fun if
19th
it
was
Seattle.
the killer day for them. The same on the other side for the Padres. We got hour number 2, Gwynn and Chris, Daily Gambit, and other stuff heading your way. of the talk show here today. Crisello, Tony Gwynn Jr.'s in Seattle. Padres will take on the Mariners a little later this evening. Matt Skraby alongside here in the Odyssey Palace studios. Scoreboard update for the Padre fans that are keeping track. No help today. The Mets were getting no hit until the 9th inning in Toronto. Young Bowden Francis was going for the no-hitter, the rookie. Francisco Lindor homered to lead off the 9th, tied the game. Mets scored 5 more, and they go on to win 6-2. So the Mets keep the pressure on. The Diamondbacks keep the pressure on. Last check, they were leading Texas, and they still are 12-4.
Oh, man.
In the bottom of the 7th inning. So I would think the Diamondbacks are going to win that game. So the only other, help you might get is with the Braves. They play at Washington a little bit later, 3:45 start. Of course, Padres at 6:40 tonight in Seattle. But the win last night did keep the Padres comfortable for the moment. 2.5 games up on the Mets and Braves. Heading into play tonight, it was a historic evening for the Padres. Manny Machado hit his 164th Padre home run. A new franchise record, passing Nate Colbert. The interesting thing to me about that is that it is a really long-standing record. And I'd have to get our old friend Bill Center on this. But Nate Colbert played for the original Padres, right? 1969. He was on that club. And let me just make sure before I go too far into this, because it was a long time ago. But Nate Colbert in 1969 for the Padres hit 24 home runs. My point is, at the end of the 1969 season, he was already the top home run hitter in Padre history, right? After the first season.
So he's kind of always held it?
Exactly. That's my point. He's always been the home run leader.
That's kind of fun.
Since the very first season of Padre baseball. He hit 24 that year. He hit 38 the next year. And for anybody that ever saw Qualcomm Stadium or then Jack Murphy Stadium or then, I guess it was then San Diego Stadium, I didn't see it. And so I know you didn't see it, Skraby.
Oh, yeah, I was busy that day.
Yeah. San Diego Stadium, when it was first constructed for baseball, they did not have an inner wall. You know where Garvey's home run went over right center field?
Yeah.
There was that little fence there. Yeah. It went when Nate Colbert hit his 38 home runs, there was no inner wall. You had to hit it up over the 20-foot high wall that surrounded that stadium. And the distance on those home runs had to be astronomical
to get it up and over
to
the
get
wall.
it up there. So Nate had a pretty powerful swing. So yeah, he was the leader from day one practically. The all-time Padre home run leader. And last night that lead changed hands.
In the Big Five, I'm going to ask you a question about where Manny Machado stands among Padres, the great Padres of all time.
Yeah, it'll be okay. I think it's interesting because Manny's moving up. He's moving up, and it's funny because I still get the sense, Manny's been with the Padres for what, 8 years now?
No.
How many?
Like 5.
Hang on.
2018, 2019, maybe?
How many years has he been here?
I mean, he did this really quick.
All right, you're right. This is his 6th year.
Okay. But he set the home run record real quick.
Yes, he did. He hit more home runs in 6 years with the Padres than he hit in 7 years at Baltimore. But after 6 years, Tony Gwynn, Sr., was 1,000% beloved here. After 6 seasons, Jake Peavy, Randy Jones, I'm going back, Dave Winfield. I'm trying to name all-time great Padres, and I don't want to leave out Caminiti, Finley, whoever. They were all pretty well beloved. I've always felt Manny in this town, although beloved, there's a certain segment here that has never really fallen in love with Manny. The people that complain that he doesn't hustle. The people that, I don't want to say they don't like his attitude, but Manny has a little bit. He's my Machado, so I can say this. He has a little bit of an arrogance to him. when he talks.
See, I don't
think he means it.
arrogance.
I'm not trying to attach a negativity to it.
Yes, I know.
I think it's an arrogant confidence. Manny goes 0 for 10, and you ask him, and he says, I'm still Manny. It's going to be fine. I'm going to hit.
Manny bleeping Machado.
Right. And I think, I think that actually rubs some people the wrong way. I'm saying it today when everyone loves him at the moment. But if you go back to April and May of this year, I would have got a lot more support on this. Manny Machado, I don't think is 100% yet universally loved here, despite the fact that he probably already, with 5 or 6 years left on his contract, deserves to be mentioned right up there with the great Padres of all time.
I know exactly what you're saying. I think social media has amplified those people.
Maybe.
Because it's out there for everyone to see, and then when people have those poor takes, in my opinion, then they get retweeted. So it seems like there's a lot of people out there.
Right.
Everybody I talk to, 99% of the people say they love Manny.
You gotta love
But
Manny.
I know what you're saying because I see it. I see all the people, and I even
It's not like
I
he's-
even tweeted myself like, "Hey, Manny went yard. That's one for the Manny haters," kind of thing.
Yeah, there are Manny haters. I feel like there are. He doesn't get booed at his home ballpark. He gets booed on the road a lot, which is something that Tony's dad never dealt with. So Manny's a bit of a polarizing guy. But he's our guy right now. And man, has he been he's been on point. Fernando's home run was huge last night, and I was happy to see it because I got in his case a little bit yesterday.
You said, "How is he going to get going?" Well,
I said it's time to get going, Fernando. He answered the bell. And more important than those home runs and RBIs and everything was Yu Darvish pitching 5 solid innings. When you're going forward with the playing out the rest of the season into the playoffs, having a Yu Darvish that can get people out for 5 or 6 innings is going to be more important than almost anything that happened last night.
Huge, and he stayed out of the big home run. Like he gave up some home
gave
runs,
a couple
solo shots. That's fine. He kept him in the game. Everything worked out for him last night.
No, Darvish was good. Suarez, quieted any nerves that people might have about him. All in all, it was really a good night for the Padres. And we'll see if they can get another one tonight. All right, let's find out what else is going on, Skraby. Hour number 2 of the program, Daily Gambit time.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please gamble responsibly. Chris, I have Padres roster moves that just hit my phone. One name on there that you are going to know, heading to El Paso.
El Paso?
Can you guess who is heading to El Paso? Campusano is headed to El Paso. Other moves, they recalled Tom Cosgrove, and outfielder Brandon Lockridge from El Paso placed Martin Perez on the paternity list, and option catcher Luis Campusano to El Paso.
Wow. Campusano's season, despite me fighting for it as much as I can, I think it was Woodsy who said, it's not sports friends. It's sports business.
It is.
And we can't, that's just the way it goes.
I mean,
Campusano has not done what they need.
No.
So Diaz is the guy now moving forward. We're gone with Higashioka, at least for the moment.
If you can't really even be a good defensive catcher, right? And I'm not saying he's terrible, but he has made some pretty bad mistakes here lately. It's going to cost you.
It's been a rough go.
It's going to cost you a job.
It's been a rough go for Luis, and wish him the best, and I hope he gets it back together because a good Luis Campusano would be beneficial to this club.
So we got Kyle Higashioka now, and I think it's Elias.
Elias. It's a lot of ways.
Diaz.
I've heard it Elias Diaz, Elias Diaz.
I'm just going to go Mr. Diaz.
Yeah, Diaz.
He is now the other catcher on the roster.
So interesting move, though. Interesting move. Campusano to the minors.
We're going to be looking out for the lineup as soon as possible. All right, bets from last night. We bet the Dodgers and the Cubs. The Dodgers were 1.5 run favorite on the run line. Both Chris and I chose the Cubs. Both of us were correct. The Cubs won big. They also have a chance to sweep the Dodgers today. So let's cheer for the Cubs, everybody.
The Cubs are trying to get the Padres back in the hunt.
Yes.
In the race for the division. Dodgers had a lead in this game. Yamamoto, in his return, 4 innings, struck out 8.
Oh,
so they were very excited about Yamamoto's return.
That was pretty good.
But the Dodger bullpen crapped the bed in the 8th inning.
Oh my gosh, I didn't expect for you to say that.
I didn't really either.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they kind of let it go. They gave up 5 in the 8th off the Dodger bullpen, which is not good.
No.
I'm telling you, the Dodgers are the best team. They got the best record. They got all of this. But they got a lot of problems, man. They have no healthy starting pitching, and their bullpen stinks. They're going to have to overcome that again in the postseason. I'm sorry, Dodger fans, but the truth hurts.
Where does pitching mean the most? Where is pitching? Never mind. I was basically going to say the playoffs is where your bad pitching gets exposed.
Well, having a shaky bullpen can really hurt in the postseason. I'm just saying.
I like how Chris says, okay. You, Darvish, George Kirby, who had more strikeouts. You chose Kirby. I chose Darvish. Now, I did say George Kirby is a low strikeout guy with lots of earned runs given up, and he did do that last night. You, Darvish, had 5. He had 4, so I win that one.
You won that one.
Yeah.
I didn't think Darvish would last long enough, but God love him, he did.
The Liberty. -10 over the Wings last night. You chose Liberty, I chose Wings. Liberty won by 14, 105-91. Collier for the Las Vegas Aces, over under 20.5 points in the game last night. Chris said over, I said under. 14 points, so I win that one.
Collier did not come through.
Not come through at all.
You were 3-1. I was 2-2 last night. Leaves us both 7-3 for the week. That's very good. Would you not say?
Yeah, it was really good.
700 winning percentage for you and I at this moment.
I was just looking at a comment about what you just said about the bed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was probably...
No, it was funny.
That was pushing the envelope a little bit.
People are laughing.
All right, we both 7-3. So here we go into tonight's predictions. Padres, Mariners, over under 7 runs tonight. What do you think?
Well, they did go, 10 last night?
They, 7-3 last night. 10 run.
I'm going to go over.
I'm going to go over.
Yep.
7 is really not very many runs for a baseball game. Michael King's been good.
Yep.
Brian Wu, I already talked about this guy. He's walked 9 guys all year. That's
good.
In 99 innings.
That's pretty good.
So you better be ready to swing the bat against this guy.
So you're saying over?
Whew. It's a tough one. I'm going to say under.
Under.
Padres squeak one out 4-2.
All right.
Who pitches more innings tonight? Michael King or Brian Wu? Who lasts longer in this game? Is your question.
I'm going to go King. He usually goes at least 6.
King?
6, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go King.
King.
What are you going with?
I'm going with Wu because he doesn't throw a lot of pitches. He doesn't walk anybody.
Okay.
They hit the ball. Blake Snell's pitching tonight, our old friend. San Francisco against the Brew Crew. 7.5 strikeouts for Blake. Yeah, this is risky because if you bet him to go over, which, I think most of us would probably do in this situation, if you bet him to go over, last game he only lasted 1 inning.
Yeah. Messed up the entire bullpen.
Messed everything up. I'll go over. Blake bounces back.
Yeah, I'm going to go over too.
Over 7.5.
He can strike out 8 guys in his sleep.
easily. And when he's a difficult guy to get a read on. Let's be 100% honest about all that.
It's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's a very good way.
We love you, Blake, but you're a difficult guy to get a handle on.
It's like one day he's focused, strikes out 15.
Oh yeah.
Next day he
looks
goes
unhittable.
Yeah.
Next time he's in the
he's playing video games.
He's in the clubhouse
somewhere.
playing video games in the 2nd inning. Like with a towel over his head. All right, big one in the WNBA tonight. Kind of a marquee type matchup. 2-time champion Las Vegas Aces at Indiana to take on Caitlin and the Fever. Aces are favored by 4.5 on the road. I'm taking. I got a fever. The only thing that can break that fever is more Cowbell, Skraby.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Caitlin Clark three-pointers or something.
Yeah, I'll take the Fever here. Fever's playing great. Second half of the season. They've been on a roll. I'm going to stay with them. Vegas has been struggling to get it together. What do you think?
I'm going to take the Fever, too.
You're going
The
with...
Aces have been struggling.
They have. But one player on the Aces has not been struggling. That player would be Asia Wilson. Over under 26.5 points tonight for her. It's great.
26.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go over.
I am too. She's been getting 30 regularly. Caitlin Clark's over-under is up to 22.5 now. I'm going under because she's playing a defending champion team that ought to know how to guard her a little tighter. My friend Kelsey Plum, not my friend, but
I was gonna say,
San
what?
Diego's own Kelsey Plum might be on the defensive assignment. I'll say under for Caitlin Clark here.
I'm going to go over.
You're going to stay over.
Yep.
Okay. We'll see how that goes in, when we reconvene tomorrow. By the way, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., don't miss it. It's the Roundtable, 97.3 The Fans Padre Roundtable. If you have reached, like, this point in the season without hearing a single roundtable, where you been? Because the roundtable has been a big, big hit. And, I get taught, people ask me more stuff about the roundtable than they do sometimes our show.
Really?
People love the roundtable. And it's an hour of commercial-free talk. It's from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. And all of us hosts are on the roundtable. So make sure you listen in tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 11. It'll be nothing but Padre talk for an hour, and you get everybody's opinion on all that.
How do you think it's going to go? Because you said a couple weeks ago it was like the Padres won the World Series.
Last week.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, last week it was like they won the World Series. So if they win tonight, they'll have gone 3-3 since then. But if they lose tonight, they'll have gone 2-4 since then. And it could be a little tighter, depending what the Braves do. If the Braves win tonight and the Padres lose, the Mets have already won. That lead's going to be down to a game and a half. And that round table is going to have a little bit of nerves to it.
I mean, like I said, we're in must-win season.
Yes, we are in crunch time, my friends.
Tony will never say must-win season. I said that yesterday, and he wouldn't co-sign on that.
Well,
language.
one thing I agree with him on that. Must-win, honestly, is an overused phrase. The only time there is a real must-win is when if you lose, the season's over. Tonight's not a must-win.
No, you're right. Brandon says
tonight would really be nice to have, but it's not a must-win.
Brandon on the chat has a really good point. Last week was the day after the Fernando walk-off for the round table, and then the morning of the Suarez implosion. So you guys hadn't had the pain of the Suarez implosion, but you had the high of the Fernando walk-off.
We had the glory of everything last Thursday. Yeah, we couldn't contain ourselves. We were so excited. It'll be interesting to hear the roundtable tomorrow at 10 a.m. It'll be interesting to hear some traffic now, and then more Gwynn and Chris
From the
All right, welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. 3:24 is the time. Chris, hello. Tony Gwynn Jr. will be right back with us. We're doing a fantasy sports court. Doesn't mean it's fake sports.
Yes.
It means it's sports court having to do with fantasy sports.
Yes.
That's coming up. And
friendships-
people are crazy, man. It's 1 week into the football thing, and people are already at war with each other over these results and all this stuff going on. We gotta help settle the issues.
Next to, say, politics, I believe fantasy sports is credited for most of friends breaking up. Because fantasy sports gets real serious when there's money on the line, when there's pride on the line.
You might be right.
I mean,
it's the only thing I can think of that people feel that strongly about. Like, I don't want to be friends with you if that's your thinking.
Yeah. I had
and we do get that in the other stuff.
I get that's why we're doing it today, because I got a bunch of messages. Most of them were the same. This guy did this.
Oh, people are irate after 1 week of the season.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, I'll say.
Speaking of fantasy, if you want that kind of info, it's already started for the Dolphins. What? And you think I'm just bringing this up? No, this is newsworthy stuff. Raheem Mostert will not play Thursday against Buffalo, nor, it appears, may Devon Achane. So the Dolphins, last year, they waited till December for everybody to get hurt, and then they just fell apart. This year, they're starting in week 2. Going to go against Buffalo with maybe no running backs.
Here's why I get mad at players for getting injured, and it's completely irrational.
A week into the season, they've already got 2 running backs on the sidelines.
It's all irrational fantasy-based anger.
Mm-hmm.
Devon Achane has been a great running back, but he always gets hurt all the time.
So far, that's the story with this guy.
I don't get how these guys get. I do get, because they're playing football, playing one of the most violent sports in the world.
That's part of it, but I think you're right. Some guys are just flat out tougher than other guys.
I don't know about tougher. They're just more injury prone. Devon Achane got rolled up on.
Shouldn't be out for a month, but he might be. They said he could play, but as I mentioned this, people are scurrying to their fantasy sports wires looking for Jeff Wilson and maybe I got another kid, Jalen Wright, I think, a rookie running back. A lot of people like. No, the Dolphins.
Yes.
He's supposed to be pretty good. Maybe they pick him up. But you fantasy people need to know this stuff. And no Mostert, and Achane is questionable for that Buffalo game. By the way, I'm kind of tired of losing to Buffalo personally. Lost 11 of 12 to Buffalo. And the only win the Dolphins had was by a half a yard. And the clock ran out after they did the butt punt.
Yes.
Remember that?
And Josh Allen passed out in the field because he was so hot.
And Josh Allen kind of mismanaged the clock a little bit, and they didn't get a last playoff. And so, Buffalo could have won that one easily. So Miami's, one of these days they'll beat Buffalo. I hope it's Thursday night. Personally, we'll have the game for you on 97.3 The Fan. Here's one more thing, football-wise. 10 years ago, he spoke the following phrase to a nervous Green Bay Packer fan base. Do you remember, Skraby?
Is it
RELAX? That was 10 years ago. Aaron Rodgers. After the Packers started the season 1-2 at a press conference, he looked into the camera and he told everybody, RELAX. That Packer team went 12-4 and reached the NFC Championship game. Here we are 10 years later. The Jets fans already need to hear that after 1 week.
Did you hear Sammy Lev yesterday?
Sammy Lev was ready to jump off the bandwagon forever. Lifelong Jets fan. They'll never win. They lost. Skraby won't like me to say this because but they lost to the best team in football on the road.
Well, I'm fine with you saying
There's nothing wrong and embarrassing about that. Did the Jets play great? Not really, but they played a really good opponent. Now, if the Jets go into Tennessee this week and Rodgers plays a similar game and they play a similar game and get beat, then if I'm the Jets, I'm like, all right, time to panic. I can't panic after I lose to the best team in the league.
I get it. I do, but I also get the Jets fans' nervousness because they pretty much sold their franchise to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's okay.
So once Aaron Rodgers is done, they have about 5 years of rebuilding to do.
No, that's fair. I mean, they're going to be terrible without him, just like they were last year. But this was his first game in 2 years. Even, one of the greatest players ever might need a game or two.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Jets are overreacting and their fans. But Aaron Rodgers told everybody today to stay relaxed. So he revisited his famous phrase of 10 years ago. Thought that was kind of funny.
It is a little funny because I remember people being very, very angry about that whole thing with
the
Aaron Rodgers,
RELAX?
which at the time I was like, "Oh, calm down, Aaron Rodgers." But now I get it.
Yeah.
He's right.
Well, Joe Burrow also getting criticism.
He kind of should. They lost to the perceived worst team in the league.
And the reason he's getting criticism is because of your pal, Stefania Bell.
Oh, why?
She said that Joe Burrow's wrist injury may never heal properly.
I've heard her say it
I believe
many times.
she said that.
I've heard her say it.
I don't think it's really up to Stefania to make that claim unless she's actually worked on Joe Burrow's wrist, which I don't think she has.
Fair point.
But Joe Burrow being asked all about it today. What's the problem? What's this? Can you throw? Joe Burrow told everybody to basically shut up. I'm fine.
Didn't seem like you were fine the other day.
He wasn't fine the other day. You're right about that.
But you know what the thing with Stefania Bell is? She must really believe it because she does not say things for
I'm
clicks.
not saying that she doesn't believe it. I'm just saying, how can you honestly do a medical evaluation of somebody that you've never actually looked at?
But what if she's like friends with the team doctors and they're talking and they give her
and
the
they tell her that? I really doubt.
I don't think they.
Tell
Yeah,
her
you're
that.
right. That's kind of bad
That
on their
doesn't
part
sound-
because then she's going to report it to the entire world.
I'm working for the Bengals. I'm going to tell you that Joe Burrow is done.
Yeah, go on your radio show or your podcast and say that, please. Yeah, that was a stupid idea on my part.
Don't think that's going to work.
But you're right. That's my same criticism with every single Twitter doctor out there is that they have not actually worked with that player on their injury. So.
One more football note, then we'll get to the break and come back and do our fantasy sports court. Matt LaFleur was asked today if there's any possibility that Jordan Love, who suffered an MCL tear last Friday, could play this Sunday against the Colts. And he was not only asked that, he was given the opportunity to just shut the door completely. Like they said, if he's not playing, is there any chance? And LaFleur said, yeah, I'd say it's still pretty open. Now, he's got to be lying.
He has to be.
There can't possibly, again, here we are, now we're doing Stefania Bell.
True.
But it doesn't seem like a guy with a torn MCL could come back the next week and play. But Matt LaFleur is leaving it open. So we'll see.
Hey, they're trying to get any sort of upper hand because they're in a bad spot without Jordan Love.
Yes, they got Malik Willis, who's never, I believe you told me, thrown for over 100 yards in a game.
And never thrown a touchdown pass.
And he's never thrown a touchdown pass.
And he fell down on his Hail Mary attempt on Friday. I was like, okay, here you go, Malik. You can throw a Hail Mary. You can feel good about it. No, he fell. He fell to the ground.
The only other guy they have is a Penn State veteran, Sean Clifford.
Oh, they traded for Malik Willis because they weren't happy with Sean Clifford.
Well, I'm just saying, the Packers are in a lot of trouble, but Matt LaFleur is keeping the door open. If you believe him, then, pick that game at your own peril.
Yes, at your own peril is right.
But it's Colts and Packers with or without, most likely without, Jordan Love.
Hey,
all right.
The lineup is out, Chris.
All right, we'll get to that when we come back. Your Padre lineup, we know one thing. It doesn't have Luis Camposano in it.
No.
He has been sent to Triple-A.
El
More
Paso.
on that, more Padres and Fantasy Sports Court. Gwynn and Chris.
Ben and Wood.
That sound means there's a lineup out.
It's in.
Yeah, it's funny. That's one thing that's changed over the years, Skrabe. I mean, all of you internet people out there, me included, Twitter, the whole thing. But whoever got a baseball lineup until you tuned the game on TV and the guy told you the lineup?
It's true.
Never got the lineup 3 hours before the game.
You know what I was thinking about when I filled in for
Ever.
Sam? When I filled in for Sam on pregame, I didn't do the lineup during it, and I was like, should I be doing the lineup, or does everybody already know? I probably should be doing
Everybody
the lineup.
cares about the lineup more than anything I've ever seen.
Well, when it comes in late like this, Chris, I think this is because they're moving Jackson Merrill down to number 3, Profar
Moving
back
him
to
up
number
to
6.
number 3.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, up to number 3.
Yeah, well, they didn't do any such thing.
No.
The lineup today is the exact same as it was yesterday.
Run it back.
Right on down to the positions. Arise DH, Tatis right field, Profar left, Machado third, Cronenworth second, Bogey short, Merrill center, Solano first, Higashioka catching. If you just tuned in, Campusano's been sent to the minor leagues. His really disappointing season, which kind of turned sour when he got hurt.
Yeah.
He was doing much better before he got hurt. He wasn't going to the Hall of Fame, but he was, certainly legit up until he got hurt. And when he came back and Higashioka had taken his job, it just hasn't worked for Campusano. Feel for the guy, but this is not time to feel for people. You've got to get the best lineup you can.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate to say it, but I saw Diaz last week against the Tigers hit 3 bullets in 3 at-bats. And, guy can hit a little bit. So we'll see. Diaz is the backup. Higashioka's the starter.
This is a big offseason for Luis Campusano and the Padres because they've given it all they can give for the last, 3 years?
They've given him, the opportunity. You're right.
Opportunity is
It's
the right
there.
word.
It was there, and it, he didn't cash in on it for whatever reason. So Padres, who did they call up again? There was some people to follow this stuff that I don't look as close. There's an outfielder they brought up.
Tom Cosgrove was one of them.
Cosgrove's the pitcher they brought up, but they brought up an outfielder to take
Brandon Lockridge.
So,
and then they placed Martin Perez on the paternity list. And then Campy
This is nothing against Martin Perez. He's not the only one.
I think it's Perez.
Martin. It's nothing against Martin. But why don't you plan?
Okay, don't go down this road.
The baby in a month, other than the one where you might be going to the playoffs and World Series.
I don't know. I don't have any kids, but I believe sometimes it's a little bit of a surprise.
I'm okay. I'm with you there, but I also.
Are you one of the guys that don't agree with the paternity list?
I agree with the paternity list. I just. Right in the middle of the pennant race, not really a fan of losing one of my better players.
Is he going to miss any when is he scheduled to pitch again? When did he last pitch? On Sunday?
He pitched in the Grand Slam game. That was Thursday.
He pitched on Thursday. Okay.
Last Thursday. So Friday, Saturday. I think he would have pitched tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, he is kind of hurting the team then.
Just saying.
I'm not going to hold it against him, though.
You're not going to hold it against him.
But it is kind of. The rotation right now is kind of being put together.
You said correctly that these things can happen by accident. I will also say correctly that you can plan for such things, and you can lessen the chances of there being a surprise. All right, this is not.
Let's go.
I know this is not Sex Ed 101. I get you. Perez was due to pitch Friday night, not tomorrow. There is no game
he'll
tomorrow.
Be back by then.
But Friday night, he is listed against Logan Webb in San Francisco.
This is just an excuse to bring up Lockridge.
We'll see. Either that or they're going to have to scramble the rotation a little bit. Let's get to traffic, and then Tony comes back in for some sports court stuff to settle.
Your trusted instant drive-through oil change. Well, some trouble on southbound 163 near the 8. Got 2 left lanes blocked with a collision. Also on the Coronado Bridge heading off the island right before the 5, we have reports of a stalled vehicle. In the North County, westbound 78, right before the 15, there is a collision involving a couple vehicles there over the right shoulder. And collision on the transition route, northbound 15 to east 76. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline instant oil change centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Do you have a sports issue, San Diego? Do you need a third party to make a decision? The guys have put on their robes and picked up their gavels.
All rise. Here comes the judge.
Gwynn and Chris Sports Court starts now on 97.3 The Fan. Do you have a sports issue, San Diego? Do you need a third party to make a decision? The guys have put on their robes and picked up their gavels.
All rise. Here comes the judge.
Gwynn and Chris Sports Court starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right.
Oh my gosh. One of our judges is dying.
No. Start over. All right, we have some technical difficulties with the machine.
This is my fault.
It's okay. We had some technical difficulties. We do have the sports court for you.
I'm going to
Tony
get
and I
it shortly.
did put it together a little while ago, but there was a couple of issues that Skraby did not iron out that are not meant for the air.
No, it's not meant for
Are we
the
being
air.
as honest as we can possibly be here?
It wasn't anything bad or anything.
No, it wasn't
Chris's
anything
voice
bad.
just cracked as you saw.
I know it wasn't really good. So we're gonna take two on the sports court.
I'm trying.
When you're ready.
I'm trying. Trying, Chris.
What are you trying? While you're trying, let me remind everybody that all coverage of baseball.
I got to run to the back. I'm sorry.
On 97.3, The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile. You can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how. T-Mobile.com/switch. All right. So you may recall a couple of weeks ago, Skraby was doing the Skraby Chronicles, and he was sitting in that very seat over there that he just left. And he went to a commercial break, and he fired the button, and technology being what it is, it didn't go to the commercial break, and it wouldn't go to the commercial break, and all of a sudden, Skraby was left holding the bag with nothing to really talk about and being very surprised that he had to fill a good 2.5 minutes while he tried to figure out what the issue was. Well, that happened to him then. Now it's happening to me now because we were supposed to play the sports court, and that messed up. And so now I have to talk to you guys for a couple of minutes until Skraby figures it out. While I have a couple of minutes, let me just update you. It went final in Arizona. The Diamondbacks beat the Rangers 14-4 today. Hello. Ketel Marte had his 31st home run of the year in this one for the D-backs, who at least for the moment, pull even with the Padres in the standings. Eugenio Suarez was 4 for 4 with 4 runs scored in this game. The other one that mattered today, the Mets were getting no hit into the 9th inning at Toronto, and then Francisco Lindor hit a leadoff home run against the rookie Bowden Francis, who was going for the no-hit bid. That tied the game. They took Francis out of the game, and the Mets went on to score 5 runs against the Toronto bullpen. They end up winning it 6-2. And Lindor not only hit his 31st, but Francisco Alvarez hit a 3-run shot, his 7th of the year. So New York keeps the pressure on the Padres as well. How you doing now?
I'm fine, but I think we're a little past time now.
What?
Let's play. All right, fine. We've been promising this. Let's play it. This is a complete Matt Skraby mess up.
That's okay.
So
it happens.
Here is Sports Court, everybody.
Yeah. All right, it's time for a little sports court here. Tony Gwynn Jr. is on the bench, of course, in Seattle, and we're here in the Odyssey Palace Studios getting ready for now, is this a fantasy sports
it's a
court
fantasy
or
sports court.
A mixture?
It's fantasy based, but there is one question about what to do with a friend.
Okay, so these are all situations where you guys have some issue out there.
Yep.
A lot of times it's fantasy sports related.
Mm-hmm.
We try to settle the issue. If neither Tony nor I can do it, we go to the ultimate
decider,
the ultimate bailiff over
I'm not
there.
a bailiff. I'm a
You
judge.
know better than a bailiff. Be happy you're that good.
Oh, wow. Wow.
All right, so Skraby, go ahead and take us through these.
All right, here we go. Whoops, that's the wrong one, guys. I meant to do, actually, this one, if it's ever going to play. There we go.
All right.
Sorry about that. Everyone reacts to fantasy sports differently, but I have a friend that reacts more like a baby than I have ever encountered in my entire life. He was eliminated from our fantasy baseball league and has not stopped crying to me about it since. All he does is talk about how his team was so much better than what his record reflected, and he would win it all if he was not, or if he was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
His team is awful. He's been eliminated for like a month. I've had to listen to this dude for a month. I told him I don't really care. My girlfriend actually thinks I should schedule a bunch of texts to send at all hours of the night complaining about my fantasy team to get him back. Chris, you're up first. Is it weird to think I want to stop being friends with this guy because of this?
No, I mean, the way you pop off about the 49ers makes me want to stop being friends with you.
I knew this was going to come back to me somehow.
Totally.
I knew it.
I know friendships are, come and go a little bit. I hate to say that. Just because you're friends with somebody on something doesn't mean it always holds up. This guy would be driving me a little crazy at this point.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to sit him down at a breakfast, at a lunch, if he's a friend, and say, you know what? Scoreboard. Enough's enough. You didn't have it this season. We'll see you again next season. But honestly, I can't listen to it anymore.
You have
see
to,
where
you
that
have to
takes you.
create a mandate to tell this guy?
I might create a mandate. I might get a sandwich out of it. Maybe he'll pay.
All right, Tony. Is it weird for this person to think they want to stop being friends with this guy because of this?
I mean, it just depends on how annoyed you are by it.
Sounds like he's really annoyed.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he is if he thinks he wants to give up his friendship about it. I mean, I would just remind this friend that your team wasn't that good, no matter how the names you had. I would constantly remind him, like, how bad his team actually was. Because the numbers say that he was eliminated how long ago? A month ago?
A month, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've been bad for a while. So, I don't know. It's the delusional talk, it sounds like, from his friends. I would let him know that.
That's a good point.
Be straight up with this guy. Say you've had enough.
It's kind of like when Chris used to complain, like, hey, before I started playing your guys' league, I would win championships every single year. And now that I play in your guys' league, I just can't win anymore.
That got old after a while, and now I really don't go to that one anymore because it's.
Why do you have to disarm me?
Why? I don't ever know that you went to that one very often.
I went to it a couple of times, and then I realized how silly it sounded. I was trying to make myself feel better than
true.
Why can't I win anymore? But no, it's
Skraby,
nobody wants to hear it.
Let you have that, huh?
No.
Who's more annoying, the guy who complains about their team being bad or the guy who gloats about their team being good? Like me, Double Champ is here, Chris.
Yeah, have you changed the name of your football team to Double Champ is here
No,
yet?
that's only a fantasy baseball thing. I'm not a double champ in football.
Oh, my God.
All right, next one. We just allowed this new guy into our fantasy league. Oh, by the way, get rid of this guy as your friend. Just get rid of him.
Oh, that's your final analysis?
That's your final
Boot the guy out.
Boot him out.
Okay.
We just allowed this new guy into our fantasy league of almost 20 years. He had the number one pick in the draft and took Christian McCaffrey, and he's outraged about him being inactive Monday night. I will say this league has a big number attached to it in regards to winnings, and so I do understand the need to do what I'm about to tell you. This dude sent an email to the league asking to place a formal protest on his result from week 1. Nerd alert. He proposes if the league punishes the 49ers for messing with the injury reports, he should be able to have Tony Pollard retroactively placed in CMC's spot, which would end up giving him the victory by a few points, only if the NFL punishes the 49ers. Tony, this person says they're stuck in the middle. What do you think?
I say this is a big old fat hang with him. Sorry. I mean, people ain't getting their money back for some of this stuff. So guess what? Rules apply to you too. Sorry. Like, this is, I appreciate the creativity with your, what did he send into the league?
Formal protest.
Formal protest. Did he have a lawyer work on it for
listen,
him?
I 100% appreciate the creativity with the formal protest in a fantasy football league. But as league commissioner, I ain't got time for this.
That's not going
This ain't happening.
Yeah.
Chris?
You know my phrase, get out of my courtroom. This is no chance. He has a better chance of suing that lying sack of potatoes, Kyle Shanahan.
Okay.
And trying to recoup his fantasy money for a guy lying and not giving him the information he needed. He has a better chance of winning that than he does of winning his fantasy football game.
Okay.
And he has very little chance of winning that. But he may feel better if he sends a letter into Mr. Shanahan.
I don't think it's going to reach him. I don't think it's going
I
to
don't know what
Chris.
to tell you, pal. This I can say with all trueness. I've played fantasy football long. You talked about this as a 20-year league.
Yeah.
I've been playing for a lot more years than that. I have both won and lost games because of some situation like this over time. It probably will happen to everyone.
I would point back to the unfortunate incident with DeMar Hamlin because it canceled the Monday Night Football game in championship weeks, and there were many players that
did happen.
Hang with them on that one.
Yeah, you didn't get
too.
the points for Burrow and
No,
others.
my friend still brings it up of I would have won the championship that year.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
All right.
Hang with him.
Life is bigger than fantasy still. Fantasy sports. Yeah.
Just like Skraby, I picked the Bengals in the Eliminator, and I am out. I can't believe I'm done after 1 week, and I propose you guys do a second chance for all the people who were eliminated in week 1. The second chance teams would have to pick 2 a week to increase their chances of being eliminated a second time.
Oh, my goodness.
Chris, what do you think?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Have fun with it.
No,
I'm
this
sure
is our league. This was from someone in our Eliminator league.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, go ahead. Have you keep track of a separate pool.
I don't want to.
Well, then they're out of luck. That's what I thought. But
There it is.
I am still in the Eliminator pool. Tony is as well. My wife is in and others. So, we did not pick that. And, you remember my whole process because I brought the site out before week 1, and I said, "Oh man, the Bengals are the pick."
I gotta say,
and you
this was
remember
a
what I
difficult
said
week.
to you?
No.
I said to you, "I'm not going to pick the Bengals because everyone's going to pick the Bengals, and what if they lose? I might be able to get a lot of people out." So there's some strategy there. Sorry, the Eliminator pool is what it is, and you are eliminated.
Humble brag over there.
A little bit of a humble brag because I might be out after week 2, so I'm going to get it in while I can.
Tony, what do you think about this second chance idea?
It's crazy work.
I kind of like it in one sense, though. It's like 3 times the work for Skraby
there's
to
zero
go in
chance
there
of
and
me
try
doing
and
this.
do this.
I can't even keep our show straight.
As in the same way I felt for the commissioner having to deal with a formal protest for real, it's the same way I feel about Skraby having to do this extra work and who's in charge of this. So, bad idea across the board.
All right, last one real quick. Tony, is it disrespectful when people try and make lopsided trades with you?
This is a subliminal shot.
No, this is not for me. I promise you that.
Is it disrespectful?
Like, yeah.
No, they just get less of my time. Like I deny that, and then when they want to send a serious one, I'm less likely to look at it. He's gonna have to track me down, and he's just making it harder for himself ultimately.
Chris is like the bloodhound of trade proposals.
Well, this year I've made a couple, but I want to answer your question by going back to a situation that happened to me in my fantasy baseball league last year. A guy made me, I thought, a very disrespectful trade proposal, and I wrote him back and told him so. He was not pleased. He thought I was an idiot because he thought he was offering enough. I'll be honest with you. This happened in May or June of the baseball season. Me and this guy did not talk again the rest of the year.
Wow.
He didn't like me. I didn't like him. But here's what the funny thing was. By the end of the season, about 5 of the other players, regulars in our league, also couldn't stand this guy.
Ooh.
And at the end of the year, he was actually not asked to return. And so he's not in the league this year. My point is
congratulations, you played yourself.
You played yourself a little bit. Don't be making stupid trade proposals because people, I think, do take it a little personally. Because the suggestion is that you're not very smart.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm offering you, let's say Gavin Lux for Aaron Judge. And, I mean...
That's a fair trade.
Well, no, it isn't. And so, if you're thinking I might do that, you must think I'm stupid. So there is a little emotion in that.
Yeah. All right, that is it for fantasy sports court for today.
Very good. When we come back, we'll go to some real Chris versus the fans. You can play trivia. Maybe find yourself on your way to Las Vegas. 833-288-0973. Call in to play.
Preview. I'm Joe Ostrowski here to help you beat the books with BetQL. The Royals are hanging on to
Chris. 4:04 is the time. Chris, hello, Tony Gwynn Jr. in Seattle. Skraby here, and if you're with us last segment, Skraby messed up royally.
I did.
So because of that, we got to get right to today's version of Chris versus the fans.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know Gen 4.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
And for my punishment, Chris, I will read the prize today. It's a long one. You will be qualified for a chance to win a grand prize, a 2-night stay at Wynn or Encore Las Vegas, and 2 tickets to see Awakening, the thrilling spectacle at Wynn Las Vegas, dazzles audiences with soaring aerialists, bounding acrobats, high-energy choreography, and comedic moments. At the heart of this compelling story, a hero must confront the forces of light and darkness in a quest to save the world. A mythic adventure unfolds set amid the most technologically immersive theater ever designed. Tickets are on sale now at awakening.com. All right.
Very good.
Thank you.
I think you should have to read that for a week.
Oh, I'm willing to take the punishment because that's how bad I feel at the moment.
All right.
When things go cattywampus, I take it home with me. And
It
so,
did a little crazy there, but hey, the listeners love it.
We made it.
They love it.
The rules. You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Chris gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player, let us know before the first question. You will get that for free. And Chris versus the fans is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. All right, let's get going. And we're going to start with, Benoit. Hello, Benoit.
Hello.
Are you ready to play?
I'm all ready.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. Who is the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts?
Oh, yeah, that's Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson is correct.
He's on my fantasy team.
Me too. I love Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for years to come.
He's a good fantasy quarterback at this point. Whether he's ever a good quarterback is still in question. He's been a little under 500 so far, but he's got some skills.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Question number 2. From 2014 to 2019, Mookie Betts' 65 home runs at Fenway Park led all players. Since Mookie has left the Red Sox, who's hit the most home runs?
What year did he leave?
2019.
He said, does it have to be at Fenway?
Sorry, say that one more time?
Who's hit the most home runs at Fenway Park since he left?
Correct.
Yes, at Fenway.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge.
He's going with an opponent.
He does hit a lot of home runs,
He
but
does.
that is incorrect.
Yeah, I got to believe this is a Red Sox player, and the one I can think of in the recent years who's hit the most home runs is Devers. So I'll go with him, but just a guess. Nah.
Sorry about that.
Benoit, yeah.
I thought you might go Jamie Martinez.
I almost said Gail Devers, but Devers, she was a great sprinter from Sweetwater High who went to the Olympics way back in the day. So I always think of her when I see Rafael Devers' name spelled the same.
All right. Let's go to Juan. Hello, Juan.
Hey, Juan.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not too much. Here we go.
Good luck to you.
Question number 1. How many wins do the Padres have right now?
Ooh, it's a difficult number 1, I think. We talked about it earlier.
82
He's
is
on.
correct.
Very good, Juan.
I was going to
You got
say.
No, we talked about it, but I mean, not everybody looks at the standings every morning.
I don't.
But 82 is correct.
All right, here we go on question number 2. What are the 2 national sports of Canada? The Great North, as Chris called it earlier.
2 national sports of Canada.
I'll say hockey and curling.
Hockey and curling. Stay there.
Damn it. Well, I know one's lacrosse. I don't know if the other one's curling or hockey. I'll say
Oh, jeez.
Going to be so upset. Let's say curling and lacrosse.
Curling and lacrosse.
Yes.
You should have stuck with hockey. It was hockey and lacrosse.
Good for you. Good for you, Juan.
All
You're
right,
still
Juan.
alive.
Here we go. Question
Okay.
number 3.
For the
you
win.
Get this right, or Chris gets it wrong, and you're qualified for Las Vegas.
Sometimes I confuse myself.
Save that clip.
Yeah.
All right. In NFL history, what 2 players have the most NFL MVP awards? Basically, first and second. Who's first and second in the NFL MVP history?
Winning the MVP award.
Winning MVP awards. Multiple MVP awards.
Okay.
I'll say Tom Brady,
Okay.
and I'll go with Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Manning and Brady.
Stay there.
All right. I think that Aaron Rodgers is one of these. He's won 4. So I'm going to go with Rodgers as one of my guesses. And surprisingly, because I believe he had a lot of MVP awards, I'm going to say Brett Favre is the other.
I'm stunned. I thought you knew this. I was sitting over the right buzzer.
Who was it?
Thinking you were. It was Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers. Stay right there, Juan.
You win, Juan.
Peyton Manning had 5.
He did.
And
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers had 4.
I didn't know Peyton Manning had 5. I
Let
know.
me go see.
That's
Tom
really
Brady
good.
Tom Brady did not win that many.
MVP. He won
Yeah.
won a Super Bowl stuff. But.
All
right, very good.
Let me see.
Juan, stay on the line, man. Did he hang up? No, he's there.
No, he's
All right,
there.
you're there. Good job, Juan. You win the Chris vs. the Fans today. A little brain cramp on this end of the phone, but not really. Those were good questions. I took my stab.
Brett Favre won
and
3.
I missed. Yeah, Favre won a few. I didn't know Peyton won that many.
I didn't realize this, but in 1997 there were 2 MVPs. Brett Favre and Barry Sanders.
Okay, they could have tied in the balloting.
Oh, I guess you're
Would
right.
make sense.
I just
Everybody
have never
votes for
seen that.
stuff.
But
So.
yeah, Peyton Manning has 5.
I think what you should look up, just for the hilarity of the NFL MVP award, look up 1982 and tell me the name of the MVP award winner that year.
Well, it says on this little chart of mine, the AP winner is Mark Mosley.
Yes. Does it say what position he played?
He's a place kicker.
Kicker! Can you imagine a kicker winning MVP?
No, but Dan Fouts was also honored in this year for PFWA and the Jim Thorpe Trophy.
The point is Dan Fouts was easily the most valuable player in the NFL in
kickers win games
1982.
too.
But that year, Mark Mosley made like 4 or 5 game-winning field goals in a row. And so they chose him as MVP of the entire league.
That's pretty crazy.
It was a little crazy, I must tell you.
It was really crazy, actually.
Yes. You're talking about a Hall of Famer like Dan Fouts, who's passing for 9,000 yards, and then you're going with a guy who kicked a couple of field goals.
And Dan Fouts never won an MVP,
No,
huh?
Dan Fouts never won an MVP.
So he got...
As a result, basically because Mark Mosley stole it from him.
Yeah, that's pretty
Sorry,
insane.
Dan, but that's how that turned out. I'm sure Dan knows it.
That's pretty insane, I have to say.
I would think.
Now it's all just quarterbacks. I mean, they chose a kicker these days. That means that kicker is making 60-yard field goals to win it every week. Because I don't see a kicker ever being selected as the MVP again.
Unless, your guy and the kicker I love
Moody?
to hate right now, Moody, makes 6 field goals a game for the rest of the season. That'd be 97. That'd be 102 field goals. You might have to give the guy some vote or two under those circumstances.
I guess so. Steve Young won it twice. I only remember him winning it once, but he won it twice, I guess.
There you go. All right, trip down memory lane there. Juan is the winner of Chris vs. the Fans. More Gwynn and Chris is on the way if we check a little traffic first.
From the 97.3.
All right, welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. Chris, hello. Tony Gwynn Jr. in Seattle. That's where the Padres will be playing tonight. Did you know that? It's great. Taking on the Mariners.
Oh, really?
Are you aware of that?
I just figured it out.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Couple of things to get you caught up on. First of all, checking the scoreboard because it's that time of year. Padres could use a little help. They're not getting any. Mets shook off a no-hit bid by rookie Bowden Francis.
This is the scoreboard music now.
Thank you. Scored 6 in the 9th. Francisco Lindor's solo homer was the first hit of the game. Led off the 9th inning. Mets went on to beat Toronto 6-2. Arizona crushed Texas 14-4. So we got no help there. And if you're looking for help from the Nationals, they're playing the Braves right now. 1-0 Nationals in the bottom of the third. Maybe we get a little help there, Skraby. Would take
somewhere,
it.
Please.
Padres made a roster move today. Martin Perez goes to the paternity list. My guess is, since he was scheduled to pitch today originally, Michael King got moved up a day. And I would think Dylan Cease will get moved up to pitch Friday night when the Padres play in San Francisco. But Mike Schilt will square all of that away in his pregame presser.
Yes.
Also, Luis Campusano sent to the minor leagues today. Brought up outfielder Brandon Lockridge. Thought we'd find out a little bit about this guy, Skrabe.
Yes, please.
27 years old. He's was drafted in 2018. So he's been around a while in the minors. He was picked by the New York Yankees in the 5th round that year. And I'd have to look a bunch of stuff up to see how he got to the Padres and et cetera and all the transactions. But he, in 2024, in the minor leagues, 2 home runs, 45 RBIs.
Really?
So there you go. He's had 340 at-bats this year. Hit 306. Trying to see if he steals a base. 46 steals.
There you go. That's why he's on the
your
team.
guy.
He's the Bryce Johnson.
He might, he's going to be your pinch runner guy. After Tyler Wade got picked off the other day, maybe they said, "Hey, we better get Brandon Lockridge in to run for us."
I always think like, how do they decide that he's the guy this time?
He was at El Paso for the last 32 games. And for El Paso, 2 home runs, hit 325, 12 stolen bases.
All right, so he's not. He's
so there's your guy,
well.
Brandon Lockridge. Of his, let's see, he had 40 hits. 32 of them were singles. Had 6 doubles and 2 homers.
I don't think we're looking for a power guy out of him.
We're not looking for Luis Ariz, reincarnated.
Yeah, we're looking. He seems like he's the pinch runner.
There's your guy, Brandon Lockridge, comes up. Campusano sent packing.
Do we think we see him back on the team
before the end of this year?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
There's not a lot of time. There's like 2.5 weeks.
True.
Unless he goes down to El Paso and hits like 12 homers the next week. Can't imagine they're going to change their mind and bring him right back up and get rid of Diaz.
I mean, fans have been calling for this move for a long time. So
well,
if you're out there and you were one of those people, you must be happy today.
There's people don't like Campusano.
I don't like it because I would much rather Campusano be good. So
yeah, I never understand rooting against a guy on my team. Seems like it's kind of a silly thing to do.
All the Xander haters
a lot of people do that.
Are gone. The Manny haters
a
can't
lot of
talk
people
right
root
now.
against guys on their own team. I don't get it.
People wanted to trade Fernando.
Well, we know that the reason the Padres have lost 3 of their 5 last games is because Fernando returned.
In the lineup.
Yes. Padres always play bad when Fernando's not, on the roster. There are people that will try to make that argument. They do make the argument. It's not even that they try; they make it.
Well,
they say, when he's here, we lose. When he's not here, we win.
I mean, I will give.
Don't give.
The article.
Don't give.
The argument is not true.
The argument
but
is
the
just,
numbers are supporting it.
It's complete. Just and it's ironic. There's just no way. He has Alanis Morissette said,
Isn't it
sometimes
ironic?
it rains on your wedding day.
Yeah.
It's ironic.
A little too ironic.
I mean, you're going to okay, everybody who argues that the Padres are better off without Fernando Tatis, get up, look yourself in the mirror for a moment, unless you're driving. And even if you're driving, you can glance into the rear view.
But then put your eyes
and then
back
put
on
your
the road.
eyes back on the road. But ask yourself this question while you're glancing at yourself. Would I rather have Bryce Johnson starting in right field tonight?
Some people would say yes.
They are not. They are not. Anybody would say that.
You know, when I see Fernando hit 3-run home runs like he did last night, and then also make a good defensive play by throwing out, who was it? Jorge Polanco at second base?
That was a hell of a good play. Hell of a good play.
Two game-changing plays right
Polanco
there.
couldn't believe it. I mean, he thought, he was clear for a double on that
did
one.
he not have the scouting report that Fernando has a good arm?
It's not the good arm. It was the position he was in. He didn't, get to the ball and set. He scooped it up and then just kind of threw it on the run. You're not supposed to be able to do that from right center field unless you're extraordinarily talented.
Like Fernando is.
You got it. All right, let's take a break. A little early here. Give us some time for the Big Five, which is jam-packed full of stuff. It's coming up next on Gwynn and Chris. Hi, welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. Got a good question coming up in the Big Five from Skraby today. Manny Machado last night made some history, hit the 164th Padre home run to break the club record. Skraby asked Tony and I if Manny Machado has worked his way all the way up to the Mount Rushmore of Padres. Think it's kind of interesting. Let's find out what we thought about it and other stuff in the Big Five.
All right, everybody. I'm sorry. This is Skraby, and technology is not my friend today. I apparently did not transfer to the computer. So here is today's Big Five. Ugh.
Important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Well, guys, I think it's only proper if we started the Big Five today.
Number 5.
With this.
Fires, Manny swings, hits it in the air to center field and deep. Rodriguez is back. He will watch. It's gonna go! Home run history for Manny Machado. His 164th in a Padre uniform. Now the most prolific home run hitter in the history of the San Diego Padres.
Really great call from Jesse Agler there, and really fun moment for Padres fans
and
everyone.
A great job of laying out by the color analyst.
True. Were you
not
consciously
step
doing
on
that
call one bit. That is really well done, people. Really well done, as we've heard in the past.
Yes.
Cincinnati Bengals guy would have been losing his mind on that shot.
Not this past Sunday.
Yeah, no, man, you can't step on that call.
No, beautiful.
You gotta let Jess do his thing and then let that breathe a little bit.
That was well done.
Well
done.
Very
everyone.
fun moment in Padre history. And my question to you guys is very simple. Chris, is Manny Machado already on the Mount Rushmore of Padres?
I think that's a very good question.
Thank you.
You know, I don't know that I would put him there quite yet. And here's why. I'm going to say it like this. Nate Colbert wasn't on it necessarily, even though he was the home run record holder. Obviously, Tony's dad is there. I think Dave Winfield has to be there. I think Randy Jones for what he brought. And you know, the fourth spot might be a little more up for grabs. Ken Caminiti was a shooting star for a moment. You know, there were some other Cy Young Award winners in there. Jake Peavy was amazing. You know, but Manny's starting to get close. And you know what? Maybe I might start sharpening up the chisel a little bit. You know, I mean, this
Chris
guy
is going to chisel his face out.
Well, yeah. You know, look, we have come to, you know, finally appreciate him around here. We talked about it yesterday whether he'd get any MVP votes, and I don't think people have noticed. But, you know, he tells us every year, Tony, to just relax. It's going to be there. 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, 270. I did not believe him this year. But I have to eat my complaints just along with everybody else. He's been so consistently good. And the other thing that you can say, and we don't know where it's all going to end up, in favor of Manny being in that last spot, is he was the guy, Hosmer got him here to a certain extent, but once Manny got here, the Padres got a whole lot more legit in the minds of everybody else, and that's a big deal.
So Eric Hosmer is on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, right.
For getting
yes.
Tony, is Manny Machado already on the Mount Rushmore of Padres?
Thinking.
Wow.
It's close.
Are you still there? Okay.
He's knocking on the door if he's not already.
Yeah. The more I talked about it, the more I started talking him closer to it.
Yeah, I mean, because he's been here since 19. It's 24 now. He's gonna be here for another 7, I believe, beyond this. I think he is, man. I think he's already on there. I mean, he's passed the homer. He's got the homer crown. He's going to continue to soar. I mean, after next season, he will have been here as long as he was in Baltimore. And so, I can't, and listen, at this point, I can't, as a Padre, when he's been healthy, he's had nothing less than 85 RBIs and nothing less than 16 homers. But he's going to keep hitting these numbers every year. We talk about it pretty consistently, 30 to 90, 270. And, he's going to do it again this year. He's going to probably have 100 this year. So I'm going to say he's already on there. And he's only going to have an opportunity, God willing, he stays healthy, to continue to elevate his status as a Padre.
Yeah, those are Jake Peavy's fingernails trying to hang on as Tony is slipping him off the end there.
Sorry, Peave. I think he's already there. I think he's already there. When you start to also consider the Padres have been now. They've been to the playoff twice since he's been here after a long hiatus from getting there. He's gotten up to an NLCS. He's got a chance to thicken that resume here even more this year. So.
Also, he had a short season with the COVID season, so he could have many more home runs.
Well, the other thing
that's why I had to throw that 16 in there, because that came during that COVID season.
And if he does stay here another 5 or 6 years, he's going to put the home run record out where no one's going to get it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. Good conversation.
Fair point. Fair question.
Thank you. Kyle Van Noy, one of Chris's old favorite players, now plays for the Baltimore Ravens, and he had some not-so-great things to say about the Kansas City Chiefs training staff. He injured his eye during the NFL opener last Thursday, and on his podcast, which I really love this name, McCoy and Van Noy, which is Gerald McCoy, former Buccaneer, and Kyle Van Noy, he described his... What? Oh, you know Gerald.
I know Gerald, yeah.
He described his experience with the Chiefs medical staff.
They took an entire quarter to get down to talk to me in the locker room, which to me is unacceptable. Because then you start thinking, what if I was trying to go back in the game? What if I was, really, really hurt? I know mine happened to be moderate, but it still was serious because it's an eye. And, especially there's people that were in there too. One of the doctors or the friend of the doctor was in there, double cup fisted styrofoam cups, like everything was good, and I just felt like that was unprofessional. I understand how Kansas City, the players, have given that training room an F, because with my experience, I would have probably after that gave them an F too.
So I cut that down too, because it was a longer rant, and I love the doctor with the purple drink in the corner. Like, what is going on over there?
He said double-fisted.
Double-fisted styrofoam cups. It makes me think of one thing, like you're drinking codeine syrup or something. Anyway, Tony, you're up first on this one. If you're the Chiefs, how do you handle this?
I mean, if what they should do is they should, address their F ranking from their own players and add this to the mix, so they can get better. I mean, it sounds like there's, although they have done a great job in bringing in incredible talent, they don't necessarily get good scores for taking care of that talent in terms of the medical and all those things. So, I mean, it kind of lines up what we've kind of been privy to, the little bit of inside information we've been privy to. It kind of lines up with it. So, I mean, if I'm the Chiefs, I think you would want to address this and not continue to be looked at in that light. It only really benefits you, but they're having a lot of success despite this. So I don't know that there's going to be a change.
It is kind of wild that they have the worst training staff, but they're the best team year after year. Chris, what did the Chiefs do about this?
Well, yeah. First of all, what you guys are talking about is the report that came out last year.
Yes,
the players
report.
That,
Correct.
Sorry.
Good point.
Yeah, right.
Good
That
point.
voted the Chiefs as one of the worst, if not the worst, franchises in football.
In regards to how they take care of the players.
In regards to everything else, yes, I think they and the Commanders were at the bottom of the list,
Yeah.
and the Chiefs were the Super Bowl champs, and everyone was kind of raising an eye. So obviously, this is some of the stuff they're talking about. Before I get into my final answer, though, I want to address my like of Kyle Van Noy. I rooted for him when he played for the Dolphins.
This is Chris's issue.
However,
He went to BYU, right?
he went to BYU.
But you like him as a
I
Dolphin.
don't like him at all. I rooted for him when he played for the Dolphins. That ended the day he left the Dolphins. So I'm not a big Kyle Van Noy fan because he's BYU all over. So I just wanted that cleared up.
Oh, man.
But here he does bring up a fair point in the sense that what if he wanted to get back into the game and needed some medical attention? What if that was Lamar Jackson? And the Chiefs' medicals are being slow to get and react. It's obviously keeping Lamar Jackson out of a game longer than maybe he would need to be. I think the National Football League needs to at least put a phone call into the Chiefs and say, what's going on here? Why aren't we not taking care of these opposing players the way your players, I'm assuming for the argument, the way your players would get taken care of if they were on the road? So I think it's important that somebody look into this.
Chiefs?
Yeah, no, he definitely
Cheaters?
Definitely overlooked that. And then, it would piss me off if I'm sitting there waiting for the doctor and his friend is down here just double fisting it up down here, just loud talking as I'm in here with my eye feeling like it's about to fall out.
The only thing I can think of, though, in defense of the Kansas City doctor, maybe he's just not a BYU fan either.
Oh,
and
is that what?
In that regard, I give him a pass.
Okay. He's like, hold on, Mr.
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm
BYU.
busy over here. I'm busy over
Finishing
here.
Stranger Things or something.
That's right.
Number 3.
Bryce now with 39 doubles on the year. Castellanos is hit by the pitch, and he is not happy. The benches are going to clear. Harper's already at the mounds. Castellanos has been hit a handful of times this week. Dusty Watson comes over with Brandon Marsh to move Harper away.
I gotta say, if I'm ever in a street fight, I need Bryce Harper around me at some point in time because he would be a great person to have on my team.
If there is a street fight, he will be around one way or the other.
Somewhere.
Yes.
But last night in the Phillies and Rays game, there was a benches clearing incident, as you just heard, and punishments have been handed down. Rays pitcher Edwin Uceda got a 3-game suspension, and Kevin Cash, the manager of the Rays, got suspended for 1 game. So, Chris, should they have been suspended?
Well, every one of these is a little different, has to be taken, I think, on its own. But watching the highlights that I watched, Harper had just rang a double off the fence, and the Phillies were running away with the game. They were hitting line drives all over the ballpark. I think Trey Turner had just hit his 2nd home run. So, to me, this hit batter was obviously intentional. I don't even think there's an argument that the Rays can make other than that same old mea culpa of, I don't know.
Oh, Uceda said he didn't mean to.
I know what he said, but this one was an obvious one, Tony. You got to be a little more stealth than that. Home run, double, and then cleanup guy gets drilled right in the thigh. At least he didn't go up around the head, so I'll give him that. But I think a suspension was warranted, yes.
Tony, suspension warranted?
Absolutely. Probably should have been more, honestly. Here's a couple thoughts that I had watching this video. Like, my initial thought was, man, Bryce could have cleaned that dude's clock if he really wanted
He
to.
really could have.
He like was running, and at first I interpreted it as, oh, maybe Bryce didn't really want to smoke, right? But then I thought about it, and it was like, well, Bryce is probably the most important player on a team, and I know he knows that. And so then I thought about it in terms of, man, he could have cleaned his clock, and he started thinking about the consequences of if he goes and takes this dude out. It's probably going to be a big suspension. So, you're trying to wrap up the best record in the league. It's probably not ideal for you to get suspended. Plus, you can get hurt, right? I thought that was my first thought. Like, man, Uceda's lucky that he had some sense to him, because Bryce is on second base, and if you watch the video, he starts sprinting, and then he slows down right as he gets to the mound. Yeah. It was almost as if he thought that through, like, man,
second
if I clothesline this.
Second base to the mound is about the perfect amount of space you need to build up some steam.
That I'm telling you, like, that is, and no one can get to you. Like,
right.
The shortstop's off, the second baseman's off. You see the ball going towards your guy, and you see how it reacts. You could see in real time, if you go back and watch, he kind of thought that through, because he could have clotheslined him from the back. It would have been the freest shot you would ever get in a baseball melee. But
good point.
he chose better. But yeah, I think it should be for more. I mean, Chris is right. These dudes don't know. Sada's having a good year. He's pissed because his ERA going up. They tagging him a little bit, right? And he let his emotions get away from him. And,
I'd like to see managers get more than a game sometimes. I mean, I think that's a slap on the wrist, as you said, Tony. Kevin Cash needs to have a little better control of his squad.
I want to see the manager and the player. Both of them should get more in this. And here's the other thing, and this goes back to what Merrifield was saying. Like, these pitchers, and this is an American League team, so they wouldn't have had to worry about it. But if it was the old rules, he would have, right? I mean, this would have been a National League park. He would have had to hit. And there was a time where, if a pitcher did that and everybody knew it was wrong, including his teammates, guess what? There was managers that was sitting that pitch. Hey, we ain't pitch hitting for you, bro. You going up there and you're gonna have to wear this one. That definitely used to happen. But
so that the rest of us don't have to pay for it.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's no longer in the game no more. So then you got, if you're gonna suspend, you got to suspend that hurts, right? I mean, a dude, getting 3 days docked versus 7. It might be a little bit different. You have to miss a week of baseball after you plunk somebody.
Castellanos could have missed a lot of time had that hit him
right.
in a
That
different
could have
spot.
chipped. I mean, he could have chipped a bone in the He could have done anything there, and it could have cost that team in a major way, just because you're in your feelings about getting smacked around a little bit.
It was a changeup, guys. I mean, it wasn't even that hard of a throw.
Whatever.
Okay.
Changeup at 94. I don't think that's the softest changeup.
It's Tanner Scott's changeup.
Number 2.
The day that Woods goes out and finally hits a 100-mile-per-hour pitch, which I think has been in the works for 5 years now. The day he does that, I'm going to have you stand up there and take a 94-mile-per-hour pitch in the thigh.
I never
see how that
is
works.
Is it a changeup?
Doesn't matter. If it's 94, it's not going to feel too good.
Yeah. I can tell you 89 hurts in the thigh, so I know 94 don't feel any better.
Right. I don't know if I already hit this, but
Number 2.
Do it again. Now, we're done with the serious topics, and we got 2 topics that are kind of serious. But Purdue student Zach Spangler has caused a lot of trouble for one Indiana car dealer. Now, I guess Purdue has these things at their home games where if you kick a 40-yard field goal at halftime and you make it, it's a contest sponsored by the Rohrman Automotive Group. You get $250 and a 2-year lease on a car from the dealer for making the field goal.
Wow.
Wasn't nearly as straightforward as it sounds, because Spangler was informed last week by the dealership that his kick came 0.005 seconds after the 30-second time limit expired on the contest.
They wiggled out of it. Wow.
And so the auto group says, and since his foot hit the ball fractions of seconds after the 30-second time limit expired, he wouldn't be getting the car lease. Here is a Rohrman Auto Group spokesperson, quote, "Our decision to not award him with the grand prize was not personal, but simply out of the principle and rules based. We are disappointed that Zach was led to believe that he did accomplish the challenge," end quote. Sounds like something I would do.
I got so many questions. So many questions. Is there a clock? Was the clock visible?
Okay, I'll let you in that, or let you in on that in a second. They ended up caving, the automotive group. Offered Zach either $5,000 cash or a 2-year car lease. He chose the $5,000 cash. They are no longer requiring it to be within 30 seconds since it caused such a big deal. So, Tony, did the car dealer do the wrong thing?
Yeah, they totally were misleading. They got hit. They didn't think nobody would hit a 40-yard field goal. And then someone did. And they tried to put it with. Now, was there a clock going off?
I tried to look for this, but I couldn't really.
I would have
find
to
it.
believe that they had to have snuck this, or it would have been a different deal, right?
Yeah,
If they said from the
0.005
beginning,
seconds, Tony.
Yeah. Get out of here! There ain't even clocks that got the .0005. Get out of here!
Was this in an NBA arena or at a?
It was at Purdue University in their football stadium.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I think they did the wrong thing, and clearly they figured that out because they did the right thing.
Local pressure got to them. Chris, did they
I have
do
a
the
couple
wrong
of things
thing?
on this. First of all, congratulations to Zach Spangler.
Spangler, yeah.
Made a 40-yard field goal without hurting his kicking muscle. So
we don't know that. We don't know that.
You personally should be impressed by that.
I tried to make a 43-yard field goal. I think I would have made a 40-yard field goal because I came up just like 1 yard short.
All right. Let's not do this.
Yeah, no kidding. Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that is not in the story that obviously happened here. Zach Spangler found out that they were going to take his prize away, and he immediately called my gambling friend Rocco.
Rocco came in.
They sent Rocco over to the dealership, and he said, "You guys better come straight and give my man his prize." And
he's got like a tire iron in his hand.
Right. That's right. They figured it out.
Rocco makes an appearance 2 days in a row.
2 days
love
for Rocco. Yeah.
I need more Rocco.
We all need a Rocco.
All right, good for Zach Spangler.
Number 1.
Now, Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo revealed last week that she plans to keep the Olympic rings on the Eiffel Tower indefinitely. The proposal sparked outrage. Some think it's political posturing, but the family of Gustav Eiffel, the engineer who designed the tower in 1889, great-great-granddaughter of Eiffel, said this, quote, "While the rings were celebrated on the Eiffel Tower during the games because the iconic moment was a central figure in the event, the rings were never part of its original design. The family will only allow the rings to remain until the end of this Olympic year." Chris?
Yeah.
Ring or no rings?
I'm bringing the rings down. I am. I think it's fine. I mean, this is a whole... The Eiffel Tower is...
Don't disparage the Eiffel Tower right now.
I was going to say, it's incredibly iconic.
Okay.
I mean, it's the one thing that everybody... focuses in on when you go to.
Wanted you to be all outraged.
No,
I thought he was gonna be. No, I thought he was gonna be like, well, the Eiffel Tower is not that impressive.
I know. I love the Eiffel Tower. I've seen it. I walked under it several times. I think. Did
you ever go up in it?
I did about 3/4 of the way, but it was so crowded that we finally turned around and
willies
and went down. But no, I mean, you can have a lunch up there, the whole thing, but. No, I think the Olympics was part of what happened there in Paris, and I like for instance in L.A., they might have had some design on the Hollywood sign, or they may do it the next time it's in L.A., but I don't think you'd keep it up, for the next 30, 40 years.
That's a good point.
After the Olympics leave. I can understand people wanting the memory of the Olympics, but not forever and ever. So I agree with this. There's going to be other places in the city that, are still iconic and kind of give you back memories, such as the
Arc de Triomphe.
Whatever it is, usually the flame, right? Like at the Coliseum in L.A., right, where they lit the flame. That's been up there since 1932. So that's fine. But no, not the rings.
Tony, rings or no rings?
Well, I mean, the Eiffel Tower is not really that...
It's not that big of a whoop.
No, they should definitely bring them down. I mean, it's meant to be up there for the time being, but yeah, the Eiffel Tower is.
I just have an issue with the great-great-great-granddaughter making decisions on what happens with the Eiffel Tower.
You want to see Skraby? You want to be mad at everything, dude.
He hates anything familial.
Because because it's the great
She had zero to do with the Eiffel Tower.
But you actually don't want the Olympic rings to stay up to yourself. So it's just like you're so.
She's making the right call,
crazy.
whether you like it or not. She's making the right call.
When I wrote the question, I actually thought to myself, I want the rings to stay. But you guys convinced me that they should not stay because Chris's Hollywood sign was a great example.
All right, thank you.
For sure.
All right, Game 2, Mariners Padres. Chris and I'll get you ready for it next on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Got a few problems here, guys. Palm Avenue on-ramp to northbound 5, a collision. Also, northbound side of the 805 before the 50.
And welcome into the happy hour, everybody. Final couple of segments here of Gwynn and Chris. For this Wednesday edition of the program, Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr. in Seattle. He and Jesse Agler will have the call tonight. Probably won't be quite as historic as last night's call, unless Michael King pitches a, perfect game or something.
Perfect.
Or, Fernando hits 4 homers tonight. Something historic could happen.
4 homers would be great.
That would be historic, But last night was historic. Manny Machado became the Padres' all-time leading home run hitter with number 164 in a Padre uniform. What'd you think about our discussion during the Big Five about Manny kind of being right there in terms of being on the Mount Rushmore? I mean, I think, first of all, let me ask you, because I didn't get time to throw this in there, but Tony's dad, I think Dave Winfield, Hall of Fame. Trevor Hoffman is another name that I didn't even mention in the first part of the discussion. Randy Jones, hard to totally dismiss Randy. The guy put the Padres franchise on the map. They didn't even exist really in the minds of anybody until Randy Jones came around. Those 4, Jake Peavy right there, and then you can make a case for the Caminittis and, a bunch of other guys. But Manny's getting close if he's not there already. So, I think it's interesting. Where do you put Manny? And how much do you appreciate Manny? When he's been here, the Padres have been a legit contender. 2020, they were in the playoffs. It was a short year. 2021, they were there until the September collapse. 22, they were in. 23, they were relevant all year. They just came up short. Disappointing season, etc. 24, they're there. Hopefully they'll be in. So every year that Manny's been here, they've been relevant. It's not easy to say that about a lot of 5-year stretches in Padre baseball. And in that time, Manny's set the home run record. He's played unbelievable defense. He's been the team leader, whether you want him to be or not, he is. Whether you think he's vocal enough or not, he is the leader. They take his lead.
Mm-hmm.
So, Manny's got to be in the conversation there.
He absolutely
I'm going to have
does.
a soft spot for Randy.
Yeah.
I've known him for 100 years. I'm not ready to take the lefty off the board. But Trevor's pretty tough to keep off of there.
You have to put him.
Tony's got to be up there,
Yeah.
and I think Winfield. This guy's one of the greatest athletes in history, let alone Padre history. I don't know. It's everybody has their own Mount Rushmore.
You made a good point, though.
Manny's God, he's getting close if he's not there.
You made a good point, though, that Nate Colbert wasn't on the Mount Rushmore just for his home runs, which is what we would be putting Manny on there to an extent.
To an extent, that's why we're talking about it. But the more I think about it, Manny's done a lot more than this hit the home runs.
So the Padres, in their history, I think this is their 18th winning season out of 50-something years.
Right, they've won 82 games now, so they clinched a winning season. They're 18th out of 55 years, or 56 years.
So
not great.
In Manny's time,
3 out of 5.
He's had
or 4 out of 5.
2, 3, 4 out of 5.
Yeah. So Manny's helped them accomplish things that they really haven't accomplished a lot. Anyway, that's why the Mount Rushmore things, they're fun to talk about, but they're hard to really come up with an actual answer. There's a lot of different ways you can look at it.
I wish there was more than 4 on a Mount Rushmore, because it's so hard to, we're just watching the Yankees on TV. How are you ever going to put a Mount Rushmore of the Yankees
Mount Rushmore
together?
Well, it starts with Juan Soto. And then you go.
And then Aaron Judge.
And then you start thinking about the Babe and Lou Gehrig and, people
Joe
like that.
DiMaggio.
and Mantle. Yeah.
I mean, all those guys. How are you going to
But first you get Juan Soto. Then you go with the rest of the guys.
Juan Soto's the first one on the list.
First guy on there.
Is Manny... Okay, let me ask this. Is
Yeah.
Manny the only one currently on the roster who you think has a shot at eventually being on the Mount Rushmore?
No.
Because Fernando could be on there, but he's got to do a lot more.
Fernando's got to do a lot more. How about Jackson Merrill? If he
he
does 19 more seasons of this, you're going to make room for him, too.
They're going to have to move him to the front.
Yeah, so, no, you can't say Manny's the only one. I would say of everybody in a Padre uniform right now, make sure before I blurt this out, he's probably the only guy that you could consider for the Hall of Fame.
Yes, maybe
Fernando
Yu Darvish.
again, not yet. Jackson Merrill, not after 1 year. I'm not ready to put him in.
Is Yu Darvish a Hall of Fame?
No.
Type caliber?
Darvish is a Hall of very good. He's not a Hall of Fame pitcher.
Brandon wants to know if Peavy's on the Mount Rushmore, and no, Chris
I just
said during it.
I just said he's right there. He's crawling to hang on. But
yeah.
I got Randy, I got Trevor, I got T, and I got Winfield, and I got Manny and Peavy in the waiting room. So it's close. It's close.
I can't comment on Dave Winfield because I wasn't really.
Yeah, and a lot of people might say, Winfield, he's a Yankee and he was in everything, but he was he was good. All right, let me also catch everybody up on the news of the day. Padres made a couple of transactions. First, Martin Perez goes on the paternity list. He was originally scheduled to pitch today. Michael King is taking that spot. I'm assuming Dylan Cease will have to move up to Friday night against the Giants. Martin, God love you. Take care of your family. Next time, plan better. The guy was in the World Series last year with Texas. He should know better than for his wife to be, giving birth during the September stretch run. Sorry, but that's just my my feeling on it.
You've irked some of the people.
Have I irked people with that?
Yes, because
really?
we can't. I understand that some people. I don't even want why I'm going.
You don't
in this
think
direction.
of that kind of thing if
No.
you're a Major League Baseball player, you don't think. God, if my wife gives birth in October and I'm in the middle of the World Series, am I going to not play? I mean, yes, family's number one, but the point is you can have the baby, you can wait a couple months. Why am I the lone in this argument here?
Because
why am people pushing back? What are they pushing back with?
And my family, there was a person in my family that had this trouble, but they couldn't have children, and that's why.
So they finally were able to have it, and you couldn't say what time you wanted them.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a fair.
It's a fair point, but we're just having fun here. We're not.
Yes, I'm not
literally making fun of him.
Yes, I'm not going to rake him over the coals. I'm just saying. Martin Perez paternity list. Also, Padres bring up Brandon Lockridge from AAA El Paso. He's a 27-year-old ball player drafted by the Yankees in 2018, I think it was. And he scored 46 bases this year. He's hit 2 home runs. He's not going to, knock your socks off, but he may steal you a run here and there.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give you a little scouting report on this guy. Brandon Lockridge is an outfielder. He comes up. Also, Tom Cosgrove comes back to the bullpen. Give you another lefty there. So who else is gone? Because you'd have to get rid of somebody. Luis Camposano goes to the minor leagues. There you go.
There he goes.
Yeah.
With lots of people celebrating in the streets, by the way. Do you see them all out there? Do you see them on the freeway? They're all celebrating. They got out of their cars, Chris.
Looks like there's a little party on the 15. I got to agree with you. I'm not joining that party. I'm a fan of Campusano's, and I wish it hadn't ended like this for him.
Chris, they're saying, by the way, on Martin Perez, if they won the World Series, the celebration was right after the World Series, meaning it would have been November, December, so maybe it was a World Series baby. He's doing the math in his head.
It's September. No. September is 9 months ago. It's January. Correct?
Okay, that does poke a couple holes in the theory.
Correct?
Well, yes, because 9 minus... Yeah, okay.
All right.
Pokes holes in the theory.
All right. Let's see. Padres have the same lineup tonight as they had last night. That means Elias Diaz, who is kept ahead of Campusano, is not in there. Higashioka is catching again tonight. Same exact 9 with Bogart still at shortstop, et cetera, et cetera. We wanted to hear from Mike Schilt, pregame presser in Seattle, but we haven't received any of that information yet. Normally we have that by now.
Let me check.
For those Padre fans who want to hear.
Oh, here, yes.
Oh, do we have something?
Just went up a minute ago.
Why don't you play? I mean, this is going to be unscreened, and the way this show has gone today, it could be a debacle.
Don't even.
We've had issues today.
Don't even start.
Do you want to just take a chance and play this to hear what he says about?
Well, it says Mike Schilt discussed the team's decision to option Luis Campusano.
Right. Let's hear what he says.
Luis Campusano going down. He started the season playing virtually every day. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it was a tough decision. Clearly a tough conversation for everybody involved, especially Campy. But started the season with us and did a nice job for us. Higgy came on and asserted himself, got comfortable with the staff, started getting more time. You know, Campy missed a little bit of time, which created more of an opportunity for Higgy that he seized. You know, we were able to pick up Diaz, you know, a veteran guy that clearly has had success in this league, you know, all-star MVP, and just looked up and recognized, you know, Campy wasn't getting as much time, and still a younger player that's grown a ton. You know, he's really grown a ton behind the plate, a lot of different phases of his game. Preparation's really, really good, but just decided that best for him and us at the moment to go down and go play.
What do you hope to see out of Diaz? I mean, obviously he's now going to get a little more chance, and you guys have 20 games or so, whatever it is left in the season. What do you hope to see from Diaz?
You know, just what we've seen across the way, what we've seen, you know, more of since he's been here. Just continue to get to know him, but, you know, receive well, game management, you know, take his good, productive, professional at-bats, but really just do what he can to run the staff.
Special guest appearance there by Kevin Acee. All right, well, Mike Schilt, as he does so well, putting some nice makeup on that pig.
But I do appreciate that.
Of course. What's he supposed to say? Campusano has stunk. He hasn't got the job done. We got to get rid of him for now.
I mean, there are some fans that think that is the way to go, but I don't think it is.
I agree. I think you say something positive. You still support this guy. You never know when you might need him again.
Yeah, and you want to put him in a good headspace.
You meet the same people, you know, going up the ladder as you do going back down the other side.
Good point.
And I think Mike Schilt understands that. And why rip Campusano? Why? He may come back. Elias Diaz or Higashioka, knock on wood, but, you know, they could get hurt in the next 3 weeks, and you got to bring Campusano back. You don't want to send him down there and say, well, we just, you know, he stunk.
I mean, if you say that he stunk, you can't bring him back.
Right.
What changed in like a week, say?
Yeah, it's a tough one, you know, and I like what Mike Schilt said. It was a tough conversation today, especially for Campusano. You know, yeah, he was the one getting the bad news. But
I can imagine that conversation being incredibly difficult for
I wouldn't have
manager.
an easy time of it.
No.
You know, when I know this guy's put his heart and soul into everything for me this year.
And this is like, I mean.
And here we are 2.5 weeks before maybe a World Series run. And we're saying that we don't need you to be a part of it. It is difficult.
That's tough.
It is, man. Guy's just he's a guy. He's got a family.
He's got feelings. I know that some people don't think athletes have feelings, but he's got feelings.
He's got feelings.
He's got feelings. You know what? If I were to be sent down, I would be extremely upset.
Oh, really tough.
I would start questioning my career. I would start questioning everything I know about baseball. I would start questioning, am I good enough?
It had to be hard enough for Campusano just to lose his starting job. And now
he's had to watch that.
Yeah, he's had to go through that for the last 3 months. Now he's had to watch himself go to the minors. There's still time for him to get back. Not this year, though. They're not going to make this move now.
You say not this year.
No, they're not going to bring him back in 2 weeks unless, like I said, somebody gets hurt.
I'm curious what happens with Campy in the offseason.
We'll see. I can't worry about that now. I can't worry about Kim now. I can't worry about Campusano now. I just can't worry about stuff I don't have now. I have to go with what I got. I'm trying to hang on to a playoff spot. The Mets won again today. They're putting the heat on. Braves are losing 4-0. Maybe I can pick up some ground. Let's go.
Hey, the chat is really excited that today you have mentioned Alanis Morissette. You have mentioned Rocco twice now, and you have also talked about the birds and the bees on the show.
Little sex education on the show today.
Yes. And I've messed up. This has been a really memorable show.
It's been all over the place. What are you going to do? When we come back, we're going to finish it up with some fun. And let me ask you this. And then don't answer and go to break. Who is the greatest athlete in the history of sports to wear the number 19? Check traffic. We'll discuss that and some other stuff along those same lines when we finish up Gwynn and Chris.
From the 97th.
Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Sam Levitt's outside. Soon he'll be inside the studio, getting you ready with the Eco Water SoCal Padre pregame show. Skraby's here, and we're hanging out. Don't forget tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. It's the Padre Roundtable, an hour of commercial-free Padre talk. Ben and Woods, Annie Nelston, myself. Tony, I think, will be in Seattle or San Francisco, actually, tomorrow because they're moving on to the Bay. Tony and I will be on at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. With no Padre baseball tomorrow, we will carry the Thursday night football game. Bills, Dolphins. You guys can give me the what for about that game tomorrow.
If you guys lose, are you going to panic a little bit about your
panic?
Season?
Yeah. Yes, just like the Jets fans are already panicking at 0-1.
I could totally imagine if, say, Tua has a pedestrian game, you coming in here on Friday being like, "I'm done with the Dolphins."
No, I would not be after 2 games. I won't be thrilled, but 2 games is a little early. Look, I've already told you the whole story is going to come down to December with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
That's where they're going to have to win some games, and their schedule is, other than this Buffalo game, is very easy up until December. So I think they're going to have a fine record. It's just a matter whether they can win in the end.
They should petition for some of those late games to be at home instead of in the cold of Buffalo.
They get one of them at home in December against your Niners, which I don't call that an easy game. All right, let's move on from that. This is a subject. I got 10 minutes left or so. So I had a ton of fun with this. I'm going to say 20 years ago. There was a guy in the Denver Post, and I forget his name, honestly, great writer in Denver. My mother-in-law, Carrie, God love her, cut out the article. He did a beautiful spread, and at the time it was something I had never seen before. And what he did was he took the middle center of the paper, and they did a beautiful layout, and they put, according to him and all of his research, the greatest athlete ever to wear every number from 0 to 99. And I thought this was incredible. I thought it was great fodder for sports talk. So I brought it to the radio. And we did a Saturday and a Sunday show.
Oh, my gosh.
About this for 2 straight days. It's all anybody wanted to talk about.
Oh my gosh.
Now, since then, I think a lot of people have kind of put lists like this together. It's easier to come up with all the information, computers, Googling. You can Google who's the greatest number 4.
Oh, yeah.
And a bunch of athletes who wore number 4 will come up.
That's what I
did. And then you
did.
can choose.
That's what I did.
Right? So, but when the first list was put out, that wasn't, part of the equation.
No, this person did some real research.
A ton of stuff. So it was a fun list. I had a lot of fun with it. Here's what I don't remember everything about the list, but here's one thing I do remember about it. As of 20 years ago, 25 maybe, I don't have the exact year, when they got to the number 19, the choice that was made then was not Tony Gwynn. And as much as I would choose Tony Gwynn in any day, shape, or form, I didn't necessarily disagree with the choice they made. They went with Johnny Unitas.
Oh, yeah.
Who's one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
Who won 3 MVPs. And until Joe Montana came around, was pretty much considered the greatest ever to play. Johnny U. So, he was kind of the greatest number 19. Tony had to kind of come in second, which I didn't think is too shabby.
Yeah, not at all.
Anyway, I'm looking at this, came out today from the Sporting News, and it's an updated list of all of this stuff.
Okay.
And here's how updated it is. Their greatest number 17 is now Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, so it's up to date.
Right. He's already passed every other person who had been there before. John Havlicek comes to mind, a great Celtic guard, number 17, some others. But that's how up-to-date this list is. When you get to the number 19 on this list, Peyton Manning is 18. Number 19, Tony Gwynn. They go with Tony Gwynn.
In the list that I Googled, too, Tony Gwynn was at the top.
Tony Gwynn gets it. Johnny Unitas is listed as an honorable mention in this one. Again, if we had this discussion in Baltimore where Johnny Unitas played, it would be a different outcome. Huh?
I said we would be furious.
Well, you can't be furious, even if you're the biggest Tony Gwynn fan ever, which I am. If you lose out, somebody's opinion is Johnny Unitas, it's a fair argument. Johnny Unitas was pretty good. But I love to see Tony in the discussion. I love to see that he won this one. It's a nice feather in his cap.
It is.
Some of the other winners that have local ties, by the way, and you can probably find this somewhere in Sporting News, or I think it's under New Arena. It has some sort of connection to Sporting News. I don't know where I find this stuff, so I don't know how to direct everybody to it.
Chris will be like sitting there in a commercial break,
and I'll just find something. Yeah,
top 30 hot dogs, yes, please.
I look at it. Michael Jordan's pretty easy for number 23. Willie Mays 24. Marshall Faulk was rated the number 20, top 28. San Diego State's. Jimmy Johnson, El Cajon.
Oh, he's 48.
The car driver, 48.
Okay, that's...
Yeah.
All right.
And 85. Got a local tie.
George Kittle.
No. He does not have a local tie. So he did not win the 85.
It's Antonio Gates.
Antonio Gates is the 85. Anyway, I don't have time to go through every number, but it's fun. To me, anyway. Some people, maybe it's not fun. And it's certainly something to stoke conversation.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
So when I Googled top athletes with the number 19,
okay,
Tony Gwynn came up first in this list. Number 2, I disagree with wholeheartedly.
Okay.
It's Joe Montana.
19 with the Chiefs.
For like 2 years or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
He was number 16.
Yeah, Montana, as a matter of fact, on this list here, Montana is the number 16.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, I don't really think of Joe as 19 too often.
Who's number 8?
Patrick Mahomes is the number 15 on this. He's already passed Nikola Jokic and others before him.
I guess that's right. But number 8 could be like Steve Young, Troy Aikman, just off the top of my head. Kobe could be there too. Is Kobe considered an 8 or a 24?
Yogi Berra is a number 8. Winner here, Kobe Bryant.
Okay, that makes sense.
Steve Young, Yogi Berra, and Alexander Ovechkin, honorable mention.
I mean, they're all very good.
All pretty good. Anyway, I had fun with this, and I'm not kidding you. It was 25 years ago when this and now it's easy kind of to do.
Yeah,
but back then it was almost impossible to come up with this. Who could research guys wearing number 68?
How do you even find that information, except for if you go through box
I
scores?
had the guy on from the Denver Post who did the article because I told him I was making a big deal out of it. He came on the show, and he said that he spent months and months going through old yearbooks, college yearbooks.
Oh my gosh.
And pro yearbooks that used to list every player in the franchise history.
This sounds like a project.
It was that's what I mean. It was some sort of kind of undertaking, whereas now you just type it in. And you can decide for yourself.
What about Willis Reed? He's number 19. He's on this list.
Willis Reed was good. He was great for a moment. He won one MVP, but Tony beat him.
Joey Votto's also on the list. I know he doesn't beat Tony, but
yeah.
Lance Allworth?
Steve Yzerman was a good 19.
Oh yeah, Steve
Yzerman,
Robin Yount,
and Lance Allworth's a hell of a call. He was one of the greatest wide receivers ever.
Oh, here. You got another one? Keyshawn Johnson.
Put Keyshawn in the running with T.
Yeah, Bernie Kosar.
Yeah,
Vern Mickelson. I have no idea.
All right, now you're getting out of hand.
Okay.
All right. Coming up next, I don't know what number he is, but he's number 1 in our hearts. Sammy Levitt. Padre pregame show, Eco Water SoCal pregame show. Then hopefully another victory over the Mariners tonight. Tony and I are back along with Skraby at 2 o'clock tomorrow ahead of Thursday night football. Tonight, enjoy Wednesday night baseball. From all of us here at San Diego's #1 sports talk station, 97.3 The Fan.